Going live. It's taking a while. Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 293 with Robert. We'll be with you just after the intro and do a few checks. Here's one mistake already. Forgot to turn off the laptop speakers. Just want it in the headset today. Welcome to the Out There channel. Hey, feedback. Robert.
It's okay, that started.
You do that every time. I'm not sure why it doesn't go through your headset. That's kind of weird.
No way.
It's almost like it conflicts, so it sends it out to the speakers instead of the headset.
Okay.
You're not on Windows 10, are you? So
No, 8.1.
there's so many different strangeness with drivers, right? Windows for you. Yeah, it looks like the counters might be working. And we got Charles with us and Ken with us, I think, and JD80 from New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
Okay, hello. Good to be back. I'll be back. Well, let's see. No swearing on the side, or hardcore swearing. Misspell it if you do. No trolling. Be civil to each other. And let's have some fun. Yeah, I was just watching the last of the Terminator movies with the I Be Back the other day. Because I totally missed it. I totally missed it. It's called Terminator Fate, I think it's called. It's a real messed up story. They totally virtual signaled the whole thing. They turned Arnie into a sissy, basically a breastfeeding papa daddy.
What?
So apparently there's another Terminator that looks like the last one they killed that they didn't know about. Eventually tracks him up after 14 years and kills the boy in the end. So she doesn't manage to save. She doesn't manage to save the boy from the second Arnie clone. And he walks off. He walks off, and because his program's got no other mission, he just sits around integrating with humans, and eventually becomes involved with a woman that had a boy that was getting beaten up by the father, and he sorted them out, and he ended up living as a relationship with the family. This robot that's got no mission, right? So yeah, and he talks about changing nappies and things like that. It's just so stupid.
Oh no.
It was good action. If you treated it like a separate story that had nothing to do with the actual ongoing sequence of events and time travel and all that, then it was okay. But they really messed up the story. It was a badly written script. It must have cost a lot for all the special effects. I don't know if they actually made their money back on it. Probably didn't, because it was such a sucky thing. So it's basically three women and Arnie taking on this new one from the future, 2060 or whatever it is, that can mold. It's funny how they have a Terminator that molds into things, but it can't mold into a machine gun. It just molds into a knife. I don't know. You have to watch it. It's still entertaining, I guess. But people that have seen it know what I mean about turning Arnold Schwarzenegger into a sissy. Spoiler alert. But yeah.
Spoiler alert, after you've spoilt it.
Well, it's
That
only
doesn't make
part
a
of the
whole
movie.
lot of sense, does
It
it?
actually has a lot of parts to it, so I've only sport just that wee bit about only reappearing in
Hmm.
it.
I don't know. I think you've saved me the trouble of watching it, actually, after what you just told me. That's maybe you've saved me 2 hours of my life there. So,
Oh, I don't
yeah,
know.
I'm not
The
complaining.
action's pretty good in it. If it just had some of the script rewritten, I think if he'd redone it, chopped out some of the stupid stuff in it, and it'd make more sense, I reckon. But yeah,
Hmm.
there was a glitch in the timelines or something. You know how you have a time travel thing. So what are we doing? We're doing mass UFO sightings. I think I.
Oh, that's the Canary Islands, yeah, sighting. And we've got a few others, some triangle stuff as well. But first of all, let's have a look at this follow-up article from the New York Times. I'm sure you're aware of it.
Mhm.
I don't know if everybody is, probably not. And saying some kind of strange, convoluted things. It's the same pair. It's Ralph Blumenfeld and Leslie Kane again, the usual suspects. Yeah, TTSA's mouthpiece, New York Times. So I've just posted a link to the article. It's only a short article, but it's worth looking at.
Hmm. Let's see. Charles is asking what the whistle sound is. That's an alert Robert gets onto his smartphone he's got next to his computer there saying that live stream is now
Mm,
live.
yeah,
If
that's
he
right.
gets
Yeah.
to mute his mic during the intro. But that's alright, I normally talk over the intro anyway, so people don't get too bored. Let's see, we're doing stuff in the background. So he wants me to copy this. So there was extra bits that come out from the New York Times, wasn't there? Since
Well, they were just corrections, weren't they?
no, I played something yesterday from Jason McCunnon that pointed out that they talked about a task force, the new task force, the UAP task
Oh,
force.
yeah. The
Yeah,
UAP task force. Yeah.
yeah. No one sort of talked about that, so he summarised it up that it was a wee bit confusing whether there was a task force or not, and whether it's called UAP task force, which is taken over from ATIP. It said the
Yeah.
article wasn't really clear at all. So in the end,
No.
she ended up being a wee bit confused herself, so in the end she just called it Task Force. Anyway, I played the clip that he summed up yesterday. It was quite interesting.
Mm.
But
And
yeah.
yeah, Chris Mellon's given an interview as well,
Hmm.
and he kind of completely avoided the question on crash retrievals, and then started talking about what Trump had said about Roswell, which I found a little bit odd. Yeah, so I don't really know what that's got to do with anything. I don't think Trump knows anything personally, but maybe I don't know.
Oh, we got that thing again. Do we believe in UFOs? That's the wrong
Yeah.
question. Of
Hmm.
course we believe in UFOs. Reporting on the Pentagon program that's investigating unidentified flying objects in is not about belief, it's about
Yeah, it's about vigilant search for facts.
hmm.
Okay, fair enough.
Speaking of that, did you watch Unidentified last night?
I haven't had the chance to watch it as yet, Paul.
Oh, it was
I would
shocking.
have loved to, but my mate was round and we were watching Formula One. So no, I'll watch that straight after the show tonight.
Yeah, it was shocking. It was terrible. And they got a new UFO video up, and it was shockingly analysed. It was scared the hell out of me what they were trying to say about it, and it was out of. You know how you get the ring effect, around the object when it's out of focus due to camera
Yeah, like a
artifacts.
halo. Yeah.
You get that, not the halo, but you get the ring effect. They call it living cell effect, where you got a circle inside a circle pattern occurring.
Okay.
Well, the pilot filmed something on his phone and he was showing it on TV, and he said it's a sphere inside a sphere, and clearly it was like, straight away I saw it was like out of focus of a bright light where you get it going through atmospherics and through the lens, and it creates this ring pattern around. And I thought, so he phones the expert and says, could it be a weather balloon, a high altitude internet balloon? And the experts saying no, it can't be. So, and it can't be one of our craft because it's doing unusual stuff. But the guy was moving the phone all over the place. It wasn't like you didn't have no reference point to see whether the thing was moving or whether it was him moving the phone. You know what I mean? When you move the phone, it looks like it's moving really fast on the screen.
Yeah, well, you need image stabilization to begin with, don't you? So
Yeah,
obviously
I don't
that
know what this
hasn't been
expert
done.
did, but they need to open it up to the internet gurus like myself and Mick West to come back. But what I thought it was possibly one of those large LED balloons that you can buy. That's the same size as the one that we saw on
Okay.
what's it called? Shag Bay, the new sighting on Shag
Shag
Bay.
Harbour. Shag
Yeah,
Harbour.
yeah, the new sighting. You probably didn't watch my episode on that, but Martin Willis was talking about it. Looked identical to that big bright white light, which I believe was one of these fancy LED balloons that you can get for illuminating construction sites. It looked like something like that. Yeah. And of course, that can get up quite high altitude, plane level. You see. So I thought it was that when I first saw it, and I thought it doesn't look like a UFO to me. If you get that caught in a strange air current, it might whiz around. But anyway, don't want to spoil it too much. But that's just one 5-minute segment in the whole show. But I thought that just sort of ruined it for me from that point onwards. So
Yeah.
if you're not watching it,
And they need to be so careful what they're doing, because people are just waiting, ready to jump on
I
any
reckon
mistake.
Mick West and Scott Brander will probably have a say on that particular site. And
Yeah,
anyway,
no doubt.
you
Absolutely
want
no
me to
doubt.
read
Yeah.
out some of this to you? Or you just,
Yeah, you can do. Just need to stop it in places.
yeah. I suppose I spoilt unidentified episode 4 for people now, but you'll see what I mean when you watch it. You'll have the same. If you watch my debunks on the weekend, you'll have the same critical thinking, and you'll think, "Oh, the experts are not really good."
Okay.
But there was some interesting stories again from pilots and stuff. So, but no video recordings, right? So yeah, but there was a mention that the US, when the Project Blue Book finished, they reached out to South America and gave all the manuals and stuff how to set up Project Blue Book down south, because they wanted them to record any unusual sightings and give them information back, because obviously Cold War and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that was quite interesting, and they reckon they may have done that worldwide with various governments, giving them the manual that they wrote for the Project Blue Book, how to investigate and all that sort
Well,
of
I don't
stuff.
know. When it comes to studying UFOs, it seems that the states have been quite well behind a lot of countries. I mean, we know China and Russia have good UFO programs in place. France has been ahead of the United States for years and years now, and far more transparency as well.
Yeah, and that was pretty much the only revelation on that show. I don't trust anything coming out of South America. I think they're too open, and they see balloons and cloud formations. There's Jesus Christ and all that sort of stuff down there. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, well, the belief systems kind of leave them open to be a little bit on the gullible side at times, but you've got to be careful you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That
Well,
type syndrome.
down near Peru, as we know, there's got that anomaly over Pacific, and the Pacific anomaly where the magnetic field's different, and I'm pretty sure that affects the people's mind state down there, causes optical illusions and stuff. I'm sure it does a bit more to the environment than it does to humans, but yeah, I've covered that in my I've covered that in my live shows as well. So yeah. South America is a strange place, but could be why they got a lot of religion down there is because of the magnetic field. Because, people that have a certain frontal lobe thing are more prone to be religious.
Oh, Paul, come on, man. The Catholicism came from Spain, conquistadors and all that. It's got nothing to do with blaming temporal lobe, epilepsy, or whatever you're suggesting. Religion is age old.
Well, there is science. There is science to it, Robert. Some people are more. I really don't. Some people are more prone to believe in a higher power than other people.
Oh, that's just simple history of the church. That's all. Anyway, do you want to get on with this article?
Yeah.
Insider explains who we are and what we do, and delivers behind-the-scenes insights into how our journalism comes together. We were part of the New York Times' team, with the Washington correspondent Helene Cooper, that broke the story of the Pentagon's long-secret unit investigating unidentified flying objects, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, in December 2017. Since then, we have reported on Navy pilots' close encounters with UFOs, and last week, on the current revamped program, the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, and its official briefings, ongoing for more than a decade, for intelligence officials, aerospace executives, and congressional staff on reported UFO crashes and retrieved materials. We're often asked by well-meaning associates and readers, do you believe in UFOs? The question sets us aback as being inappropriately personal. Times reporters are particularly averse to revealing opinions that could imply possible reporting bias. But in this case we have no problem responding, no, we don't believe in UFOs. As we see it, their existence, or non-existence, is not a matter of belief.
So I don't know what to make of this, to be honest. I mean, Leslie Kean has wrote a book in 2 different languages on UFOs. She also wrote a book on the supernatural, I think. There was another one called Surviving Death. So what is she talking about? She's been looking at UFOs and the paranormal now for over 10 years, I believe, and so what they're trying to be is scientific about this, you see. But I don't like the way they're telling us how we should look at the thing, you know?
I'm not too sure what to make of this statement.
No, it's a convoluted mess of an article, to be honest, but carry on with it.
You're not allowed to criticise the writers, according to Dave Scott. It's the editor's fault.
Belief. We admire what the great anthropologist Margaret Mead said when asked long ago whether she believed in UFOs. She called it a silly question,
UFOs.
writing in Red Book in 1974. Belief has to do with matters of faith. It has nothing to do with the kind of knowledge that is based on scientific inquiry. Do people believe in the sun, or the moon, or the changing seasons, or the chairs they're sitting on? When we want to understand something strange, something previously unknown to anyone, we have to begin with an entirely different set of questions. What is it? How does it work? That's what the Pentagon UFO program has been focusing on, making it eminently newsworthy. And to be clear, UFOs don't mean aliens. Unidentified means we don't know what they are, only that they demonstrate capabilities that do not appear to be possible through currently available technology. Unlock more free articles. Create an account or log in.
No, stuff off.
In our reporting, we've focused on how the Department of Defense, the the Office of Naval Intelligence, and members of 2 Senate committees are engaged with this topic. Current officials are now concerned about the potential threat represented by the very real, advanced technological objects, how close they can come to our fighter jets, sometimes causing a near miss, and the risk that our adversaries may acquire the technology demonstrated by the objects before we do. So if U.F.O.S are no longer a matter of belief, what are they, and how do they do what they do? And if technology has been retrieved from downed objects, what better way to try to understand how they work? Our previous stories were relatively easy to document, with Department of Defense videos of U.F.O.S and pilot eyewitness accounts backed up by Navy hazard reports of close encounters with small speeding objects.
So, it's a really confusing article. So basically what she's saying there is most people believe in UFOs.
Yeah. Paul, it's confused everybody.
Yeah,
Nobody
what it's saying
knows
is,
what's in
it starts off saying everybody believes in UFOs, but it's saying the program's proven UFOs. That's what it's trying to say, I think.
It's a contradiction in itself. But I think what they're trying to say is, I think one, they're backtracking a little bit on the original article,
Yeah.
and two, they're trying to encourage everyone to take a more scientific approach. But
yeah,
once you've established something,
stop
is in
believing
your airspace.
UFOs.
If UFOs are in your airspace and you don't know what they are, then of course you have to have come to the conclusion that you believe these UFOs are real. So therefore, you believe in UFOs. Surely.
Yeah, it's sort of like a mind twister, isn't it? Maybe she was on.
I mean, I don't.
Maybe she's
I
on
don't
weed.
like the. Yeah, I don't like the word. Are you a believer? You know, I don't like that word myself. But yeah, carry on.
You don't say, do you believe you saw a UFO? You either say, I saw a UFO, or didn't see a UFO. You don't say you believe you saw a UFO, unless you're not really sure what you saw.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It means you have doubt.
Yeah.
You have a doubt in your own visual sighting.
It's just, okay. It's just semantics. It's a play on words, nothing more.
Was she trying to defend?
Silly.
She's trying to defend the program. She's saying that the program has gone from believing in UFOs to proving UFOs. I think maybe that's what she's trying to say.
Well, nobody knows.
It's confusing, all right, but anyway.
Yeah, I know. To make it clear.
But our latest article provided a more daunting set of challenges, since we dealt with the possible existence of retrieved materials from UFOs. Going from data on a distant object in the sky to the possession of a retrieved one on the ground makes a leap that many find hard to accept, and that clearly demands extraordinary evidence. Numerous associates of the Pentagon program, with high security clearances and decades of involvement with official UFO investigations, told us they were convinced such crashes have occurred, based on their access to classified information. But the retrieved materials themselves, and any data about them, are completely off limits to anyone without clearances, and a need to know. We were provided a series of unclassified slides showing that the program took this seriously enough to include it in numerous briefings. One slide says one of the program's tasks was to arrange for access to data/reports/materials from crash retrievals of AAVs, or advanced aerospace vehicles.
Yeah, we only got down to there.
Yeah. Carry on with that last bit, and that's it, Paul.
Is that it?
No, you don't need all that. No, nothing. That's it.
Our sources told us that AAV does not refer to vehicles made in any country, not Russian or Chinese, but is used to mean technology in the realm of the truly unexplained. They also assure us that their briefings are based on facts, not belief.
Okay, that's it.
Ralph Blumenthal was a Times reporter from 1960.
Yeah, no, mate, just give me a chance. Now, what's interesting here is this new term, AAV. Now,
I know, so now we've got another word for UFO.
That's right, another word for UFO, which means maybe Black Vault should do a FOIA request on AAV, maybe. Maybe he should do an AAV task force. Maybe that's what it's called now. we might be able to catch them out. They're trying to use. They're always trying to change the words around to make it to hide it in plain sight.
Yeah,
I find
it makes it more difficult to get your hands on material. I mean, for example, now in the Vietnam War, UFOs were worded as unidentified helicopters. Well, there's a couple of things wrong with that. One, the Vietnamese didn't have any helicopters. And two, if it's an unidentified helicopter, well, you know it's a helicopter, so how the hell is it unidentified? You know, that's crazy, but that's how they hid it, you see.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of material available on UFOs and that war, the Vietnam War, which Paul Dean, the Australian guy, he dug up a great deal of that stuff. It's a bit dry to read, you know, but yeah, it is what it is. All documents generally are.
Seems like
so at least it's
it seems like a nothing article though. There's only like a few paragraphs.
It's a bit of a nothing burger, as the Americans would say. Yeah. I don't know, but you've got to keep up with these things and try and make sense of them as best we can.
Because they said there was more stuff coming that proves UFOs. I'm not sure how this proves UFOs, unless it's trying to. It might be like a secret code, like it might be trying to hint out there some researchers what some keywords they should be looking up on FOIA requests, or something like that. You know, almost sounds churchy. This article. It sounds like it's written by the Catholic Church. You know, belief and all that sort of business.
Well, no, they're denying that word. They don't want you to use that word, Paul. So it's the opposite of what you just said. Then
they don't want you to believe in UFOs. They want you to actually.
They
think they're
categorically stating they don't like that word, believe. I mean, just look at the headline of the article. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the church or the Roman Catholic Church. Nothing churchy about that article at all. They're trying to keep it as scientific as possible.
I don't know. Maybe it's like a message to the Pope here. I don't know. But anyway,
I don't think so, Paul. Well, it's really clear to me anyway. Okay, so do you want to get on with the this Canary Islands mass UFO sighting?
You got to always keep in mind the New World Order.
No, here we go. David Icke.
David Icke and the Pope
overnight.
And the reptilians.
Oh no!
You got another article link, did you? Did I miss it?
Yeah, I know. It's taking a long time to load. Now it's loaded and loading.
What have we got in the side check going on? Have you heard about UFO appearing in a episode of Little House on the Prairie? I was told about it today.
I think what can might mean there is while they were filming, they caught a UFO.
Yeah, it kind of rings a bell.
I don't know, but I'll have a look at that. Yeah, that's happened on a few film sets, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it may have been if I remember right, I think it may have been a plane that got in the screenshot by mistake.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, if I'm thinking about the right one, I've probably got all the episodes on a hard drive, actually. I got Little House on the Prairie somewhere.
Yeah.
AVIs. But, yeah, there's a few things like that. There's also one in John Wayne movie that, what's his name put out? I can't remember what his name is now. He was part of our Facebook group until I started debunking some of his claims, and then he left in a huff, right?
Okay.
But he said it was a John Wayne movie where there's like a oval-shaped object flying around in the background, and I said to him, I think that's probably a helicopter spraying some fruit trees in the background, because they used back then it might have been the first like blue screen effect they had for a John Wayne movie. Normally they had like static stage sets, with painted scenes to make it look like it's out in the desert or whatever. And I think this is the first time they used like a green screen effect added to the movie. And so they filmed some sort of farm and they put it in the background. And it would have been the right time for those type of helicopters, little tiny two-seater helicopters that the pilots use for spraying. But the other possibility, some people said they thought it might be one of those camera cranes that they have in the movie theaters, which go up quickly and rotate around and film people as they're moving in a scene that may have got accidentally in the scene. But it's very hard to tell because it's really grainy and very far away in the background. Who put it up there? What's that guy's name? He's got it up there on his YouTube channel. He probably watches our stuff. He's probably thinking, "Oh, that's me." But yeah, I tried to reach out to that Captain Delusion about could they have had this green screen effect back then, early color movie, and he never replied to me. But I think they would have. Was it a black and white movie? No, I think it was. No, it might have been a black and white movie.
I don't know, Paul. I'd need to see it for myself, you know.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, we've got quite a bit to get through, you know, tonight. If we're going to get it, if we're going to get half of it done.
Yeah. Have we got a link?
Yeah, I've left it, yeah.
So this is what, Canary Islands, is it?
Canary Islands, yeah.
So while it's loading up, here's the map of it.
It's one of the few places I've actually been on holiday.
You get holidays. Someone gets holidays. Canary Islands, off the coast of France, is it?
Good God, no. It's well past down the Med. Look, you've got the west coast of Africa there.
That's not Canary Islands, is it?
Yes, of course it is. You're not a million miles from the equator there, you know, it's down warm.
Right. Portugal.
Well, hot, it's not warm.
Yeah, so you see
you're well down past the Med.
Yeah, this too. I thought it was further up myself. France, yep. France up here, Spain. Yeah, it's Morocco, isn't it? Down further down that way.
Yeah.
Western Sahara. And what's that one there? A little island by itself, Cape.
Well, Cape Verde, yeah. It's further down again.
Alright, so lots of UFO sightings around here, you reckon? But you can see here, there's a lot of water, deep water here, trenches.
Yeah.
Possibly, you know, underground sea bases again comes into mind.
Yeah.
So this one's got a few pictures of this thing, so I guess this is what's going to be in the article. But there wasn't too much to look at. No. Plus this funny sphere thing, which kind of reminds me of one of those tic-tac reports with the square inside a circle business. So let's carry on. Oh, you got Open Minds article on it, and that was one of ones I found as well. 1976. I suppose they sum it up pretty good. Who wrote it? Was it Rojas?
I think it was.
Normally it has it at the end.
Yeah.
Normally it says who does it at the end. Article appeared in Open Minds magazine. I reckon it would have been him. Anyway.
Canary Islands mass UFO sighting, 1976.
What's happened there?
Posted by Jason McClellan, August 10th, 2016. 8
comments. Could have been a Jason article then.
UFO sightings observed by many witnesses are typically the best, most noteworthy cases, as the multiple witnesses' testimony provides corroborating evidence. Although most sightings are not mass sightings, there are several high-quality cases involving many credible witnesses, and some of these mass sightings paint the best picture showing the mysterious reality of UFOs. One such sighting occurred in 1976 in the Canary Islands, a Spanish archipelago located just off the northwest coast of Africa. The Canary Islands, credit,
It's got
Una
some
Raisinin
strange
/
stuff
Wikimedia
happening.
Commons. In the mid-1990s, philanthropist Lawrence Rockefeller financed a report that provided an overview of major UFO events and the evidence surrounding the UFO phenomenon. This report was intended to educate government officials about UFOs, and as such, it was sent to the White House and members of the U.S. Congress. The report, titled Unidentified Flying Objects Briefing Document, the best available evidence, was drafted by Don Berliner, an aviation journalist and longtime ufologist. UFO journalist Antonio Hunias and Marie Galbraith, the wife of investment banker Evan Galbraith, who was the U.S. ambassador to France during the Reagan administration, the Republican candidate for New York governor in 1994, and the chairman of William Buckley's political magazine, National Review, also participated in the creation of this document. One of the incredible cases presented in the document is the mass UFO sighting that took place in the Canary Islands. Lawrence Rockefeller. A copy of the original Rockefeller report posted by OpenMinds.tv can be found here. According to newspaper headlines, thousands of residents of the Canary Islands observed an unidentified luminous phenomenon on the night of June 22, 1976. The event was reported by witnesses on at least 3 different islands. The Spanish Air Force thoroughly investigated the incident. Although the files associated with this investigation were declassified in 1994, they had already been leaked back in 1976. For whatever reason, the classified Air Force reports were given to journalist Juan José Benitez in October 1976 by an Air Force general. Benitez included these in his book, UFOs, Official Documents of the Spanish Government. Records indicate that the commanding general of the Spanish Air Force's Canary Islands, Air Zone assigned an investigative adjutant to the case on June 25, 1976. Depositions were taken of at least 14 witnesses. The Air Force divided these witnesses into 4 categories, ranking them from most credible to least credible. People found to be mentally challenged, illiterate, or under the influence of drugs or alcohol were put into the very unreliable category, while people like astronomers, pilots, and aeronautical engineers were placed in the most credible category. The sighting reports, like the witnesses, were grouped into 4 levels to evaluate the quality and quantity of evidence for each.
Stop it there, Paul, please.
The
Yeah, I didn't notice first time round, but I noticed this time. This is June 22nd, so this is silly season now. The Canary Islands are very popular with Europeans during those summer months, so it would have been, those islands would have been packed out. And I can tell you what, there'd have been, at the time this occurred, there would have been a lot of drunk people.
Drunk Brits misbehaving. Yeah, it's like one of those reality TV shows you see of the Brits overseas.
Yeah, having said that, in Tenerife, because I've been there myself, this is Tenerife, this is one of the Channel Islands.
I think we passed by it on the way to New Zealand on the ship, and didn't stay there very long. But I was only a kid at the time and enjoying everything. It was fun.
Yeah, I was just saying, people generally don't actually go out till around about 10 o'clock there,
Yeah, I think we would have passed it.
Paul. Yeah, because it starts to cool down then. And that's when people start to go out. And the clubs are open till 4, 5, 6 a.m. No bother at all. So, yeah, maybe there was a lot of sober witnesses as well,
Yeah. Well, we come down on boat from UK all the way down, passing Africa and Australia to New Zealand in 1972, and that's why we relocated down to New Zealand. But yeah, I don't remember hearing about any UFOs on the whole trip. But I remember the night skies was full of stars and stuff. It was a fun life as a kid travelling on a boat, that's for sure. A ship, you could run around and do anything you wanted. and they had food everywhere and lots of parties on board. It was a good experience for a kid anyway. Mum was sick as a dog though. Back then,
Oh dear.
back then the ships in there rocked a wee bit with the sea, right? So they didn't have like these big super ships now that sort of have stabilization in them, and they don't actually rock at all, and they just simply go from one point to the other without much problem, unless it's a really, really bad storm. But yeah. Yeah, I just haven't had any UFO sightings. If I did, I would have remembered it as a kid, because I remember being on the ship and what we used to get up to. You kind of remember things to do with food and strange events that happened. Because I remember going into the big deep swimming pool, and that was. They pumped the water from the sea into the. It was like a salt swimming pool, but somehow a stingray got sucked up the pipe, and it was actually in the pool swimming around, and people didn't know it was in there. And I was, because you could have got stung. They got the barbed wire on the towel. It could easily have got hit in the chest or caused a wee bit of damage to people. But that's the only thing I remember. That sort of kind of stuff.
Yeah, the stings on the end of the tail.
But
it's potentially lethal as well. But anyway, we better get on with this article, Paul.
Yeah, they killed the crocodile hunter man, didn't they? Anyway,
yeah,
in Australia.
That's right, the Australian guy. Yeah.
Witness depositions and a review of the evidence allowed the investigative adjutant to piece together what transpired on June 22, 1976. Based on his report, the first UFO sighting of the night occurred at 9:27 p.m. The unidentified object was observed by the entire crew of the Spanish Navy vessel, the Atrevida, which at the time was located near the coast of Fuerteventura. According to the Atrevida's captain, he and his crew observed an heights, but the UFO stopped and hovered in the sky. Wish blue light moving from the island's shore towards the ship. They initially assumed the object was an aircraft with active landing lights, but the UFO stopped and hovered in the sky. The captain further described that the light went out, and a luminous beam from it began to rotate. It remained like this for approximately 2 minutes. Then an intense great halo of yellowish and bluish light developed, and remained in the same position for 40 minutes, even though the original phenomenon was no longer visible. The Spanish Navy vessel Atrevida. Credit, Jose Juan Medina Cabacho / Wikimedia Commons. The captain explained that, minutes after this halo of light appeared, he observed the following. He light split into 2 parts, the smaller part being beneath, in the center of the luminous halo, where a blue cloud appeared, and the part from which the bluish nucleus had come vanished. The upper part began to climb in a spiral, rapid and irregular, and finally vanished. None of these movements affected the initial circular halo in any way, which remained just the same the whole time, its glow lighting up parts of the land and the ocean, from which we could deduce that the phenomenon was not very far away from us, but was close. The ship's first officer echoed the captain's statements. And the officers also confirmed that the ship's surface radar detected nothing at the time of the sighting. The depositions of the naval officers were considered to be some of the most credible testimony regarding the UFO sighting. The deposition of a physician, however, was among the more strange accounts collected during the investigation. Dr. Francisco Padrón Leon was in a taxi on his way to see a patient in the town of Las Rosas on Tenerife, the largest of the Canary Islands. He explained that, when he had almost arrived at his destination, the taxi's lights hit a luminous sphere hovering motionless just off the ground. He described that the sphere was electric blue in color and constructed of a transparent and crystalline-like material. He estimated that the UFO had a radius of approximately 100 feet. Inside the sphere, Dr. Padrón saw a platform that looked like it was made of metal, and what appeared to be 3 control consoles. He also claimed to have seen 2 tall humanoid figures inside the sphere, whom he estimated were between 8.5 feet and 10 feet tall.
That's big.
They wore brilliant red outfits and some type of headgear. When the taxi arrived at the patient's home, Dr. Padrón continued watching the sphere. He described it as follows. I then observed that some kind of bluish smoke was coming out from a semi-transparent central tube in the sphere, covering the periphery of the sphere's interior without leaking outside at any moment. Then the sphere began to grow and grow until it became huge like a 20-story house, but the platform and the crew remained the same size. It rose
Weird.
slowly and majestically, and it seems I heard a very tenuous whistling. The doctor raced into the patient's house to inform the residents about the mysterious sphere. Everyone came outside to see the object that had ascended high in the sky. The UFO quickly accelerated, shooting away at an incredible speed. The doctor described that it dissolved into a bluish spindle shape with red underneath. Similar to the description provided by the Navy officers, Dr. Padron said a brilliant white halo was formed close to the object, which bit by bit was forming another very brilliant blue halo. A sketch.
Yeah, we've got a sketch of it.
Yeah, okay. The spiral-shaped sphere, do you know what that reminds me of? First thing that comes to mind is a rocket launch. And the sun's in a perfect place to have that effect as well, because it was 9:30ish, wasn't it? So it was mid-June. So the sun's going to be just below the horizon, which is going to be perfect to give you that kind of effect. But it's not what the taxi driver was describing, is it? And it's not what the military aboard that ship, naval ship, was describing either, because they said it came to a sudden stop. Now, a missile, once it's launched, it isn't going to stop, is it? It's just going to keep going until it reaches its destination. So, yeah, it's a strange case so far.
Well, it could have been, again, a bit like that Victor Schreiberger that I talked about his experiments using vortexes, where it creates a tornado effect in front of the craft and it sucks it upwards through the atmosphere. Maybe some experimental craft like that, or maybe what the aliens use as well. Who knows? It kind of makes sense, and that's why you don't get any sonic boom. If it travelled away at supersonic speed back then, somehow it's got to somehow manipulate the atmosphere around it. And a spiral effect seems to make most sense to me, like a tornado cone that's been sucking it up in front of it. So obviously,
I don't think that part of the world is prone to tornadoes, Paul.
No, but I'm saying the craft creates the artificial tornado which sucks in front of it.
Okay, I'm with you.
So it's creating a hole as it's entering it, so it never actually gets a sonic boom. It just uses natural environment that we, you know, a lot of stuff that we create is modeled on Mother Nature, right? So it makes sense that if you're going to design a UFO or some sort of hypersonic craft, the sphere makes them perfect sense because it can go underwater. It's got the pressure valve, because a lot of the diving bells are spheres, right? So it can go underwater. It can also spin around and create vortexes quite easily, and to be sucked, use that as a propellant to suck it to hypersonic speeds. So yeah, it makes total sense to me, looking at it a scientific way, and also all the stuff that I've read over the years while doing this channel. But yeah, we can carry on, I guess. Got anything else to add? What the guy's saying downside here. So
I was just talking about poor Susan's beast passed.
Oh, right. Was she still not joining us today? Maybe she's got the C-19 finally. Who knows?
Oh, don't say that, for God's sakes.
Well, it's strange for her to be off 2 days.
I spoke to her yesterday, Paul. She's okay. She's fine. She's just think this has overwhelmed her a little bit, you know.
Okay.
Well as by witnesses at the patient's house. But the investigative adjutant reportedly still debated whether he should accept the doctor's deposition. It was his belief that the witnesses of the humanoid figures in the sphere, facing the presence of an unusual phenomenon in the sky, narrated what their minds made them see, mutually influencing each other. He goes on to say in the records that he doesn't have the slightest doubt about their seriousness and sincerity. They told what they unquestionably believed to have seen. Notably, there are other reports from the 1970s of sphere-like objects containing occupants. In 1970, a boy in East Aurora, New York, reportedly witnessed a silent yellowish sphere moving slowly through the sky. According to his report, he clearly saw 2 occupants at the craft's control panel. In 1973, a witness in Manchester, New Hampshire reported seeing an orange and gold globe that was not totally opaque, but had a peculiar translucent quality about it. She claims that she saw a humanoid figure standing at the controls of this UFO. In 1978, a witness in San Antonio, Texas reported seeing a strange, globular, amber-colored object with a transparent section through which the witness claims to have seen 2 creatures.
Strange.
In addition to the witness
Sounds like the
depositions,
same
the
craft
Spanish Air
almost.
Force's file related to this case contains more than 100 pages of questionnaires, illustrations, and other documents. The file also includes a color photograph of the UFO that was taken by a tourist. According to the lab where this photo was developed, no trickery or modification of any kind was added. Photograph of the phenomenon over the Canary Islands on June 22, 1976.
Yeah, let's have a
Credit.
look. Okay. Was that a photograph? I thought it was a rendering, artistic rendering when I saw the graphic. Photograph. Interesting.
But it's possibly overexposed, isn't it?
Almost looks like an explosion. Like something exploding.
Yeah, there's, yeah. You got that line going through the sphere.
Yeah, like a nuclear explosion, you know. Kind of looks like the emanation effect for, is it Red Dwarf? TV series where it explodes. Or is it looking at this thing here? Another crappy
I don't know
photograph.
what that
I
is.
guess that's water there, is it?
Yeah,
Let's
but
have a look.
1976, I suppose, maybe a Polaroid camera. There wouldn't have been no mobile phone cameras about then.
That's got to be C there. What the hell is that there? Almost looks like an explosion above water. And it looks like water vapor there, because it's not actually perfect circle. You can see where it's touching the sea, right? But up here where the atmosphere is, it's forming a perfect sphere. And this thing here kind of looks like expanded explosion thing as well.
But nobody actually reported an explosion, did they?
Well, I'm not seeing a spiral anyway.
I mean, you're talking now on those islands at that time. You're talking. It would still have been fairly light, you know, at the time at 9:30. Oh, I tell you, when it gets dark there, it gets dark damn quick. It's like somebody switching a light off, you know. But yeah, it should have still been light then. But of course, that was when they first seen it. So how long it went on, I don't know.
See, there's a midi explosion there.
But I don't think that's what happened, Paul.
Above 3 ships there. Looks like it's a coloured photograph. Look at the spikes on that one. And that's kind of weird looking. That's what it kind of looks like though. Maybe it's called it as some sort of, you know, something like that. But that's multiple fragments coming from it.
Okay, I'll just pop to the toilet while you're out looking at it.
Okay. His first toilet break, guys. Here's one. It's closer to where it gets cut off at the bottom there. And we got these lines that sort of expanding out of it. Still not perfect. But it does kind of look like that, doesn't it? We'll keep looking. Here's another one. It's got those little lines that sprout either side normally. There's one there. Here's another one. But it hasn't got the C to buffer against. I'm pretty sure I've seen a perfect picture of an explosion like that one we just saw somewhere, but it's not coming up. See, there's another one that's kind of unique as well. Here's one that's sort of close to it. There. Looks like a rocket launch, right? So maybe it's military related, but why was no explosion heard? Kind of weird. More questions than answers. Fireworks. There's not much there, is it? There's one closer to the ground. That's colourful. How'd they do that? Photoshop it. That's a pretty cool effect. Anyway, is he back? Carry on.
Credit,
Okay,
Spanish Air Force / Antonio Hunius. Following the investigation, and after reviewing all the available information, the investigative adjutant concluded that there was no aerial traffic or military exercises at the time of the incident that could account for the phenomenon, and that what witnesses observed on June 22, 1976 was, indeed, an unidentified aerial phenomenon. Similar phenomena were witnessed in the Canary Islands around the same time period. One of these other sightings occurred in November 1976, and was witnessed by the commanding general of the Spanish Air Force's Canary Islands Air Zone, while he was aboard a transport aircraft. Interestingly, a large halo also accompanied this sighting. Personnel at an airbase on the island of Gran Canaria, and the crew of a Spanish Navy ship also witnessed this phenomenon. The investigative adjutant assigned to the November 1976 sighting in the Canary Islands concluded that, after looking at all of the similar cases around the islands from that time period, we should have to think seriously of the necessity of considering the possibility of accepting the hypothesis that a craft of unknown origin, propelled by an equally unknown energy, is moving freely over the skies in the Canaries. This article originally appeared in Open Minds magazine issue.
Yeah, there wasn't much left of it,
yeah.
was there?
So, no, that's about it. But you had to scroll down, Paul.
Oh, here we are. It was Jason that wrote it.
Yeah, it was Jason. Okay, right. Yeah, but a little scroll down again. Slowly. Ah, look who's here. Look who's popped up.
Hey, are you sure it's him?
Yes, of course it's him.
Yeah.
He always calls himself Jim.
Yeah.
So there we go. So okay, so scroll down again slowly. Let's keep up with it. So James Oberg has said, and now you've gone past it.
Oh, I thought you said keep going.
There's a well-researched, proposed, prosaic explanation of this. Didn't you find it in your research? Okay, so scroll down slowly now.
Okay,
and keep going. And keep going.
Can you please
okay, so someone's asking him now, can you please provide a link to that prosaic explanation you mentioned? Thank you. And then I think some stage, yeah.
The authors or the original study. You want me to read it out?
I'll do it. The authors of the original study, I'll do it, Paul. Are prepared in a response, and I'd like to give them privacy. They earned it. These are classic, solid reports and explanations for them seem counterintuitive, a private but careful gathering of similar-looking reports from around the world that match the documents. Aerial activities can provide some insights into just how far a witness can fill in apparitions with queued up memories from his own life experiences. Going in, I would not have found such explanations made sense until enough documented cases can be found, thanks to diligent records keeping by UFO investigators all over the globe, that convincingly demonstrate it can, because it has happened elsewhere. Only one has to point to the November 17, 2015 Trident launch off California to see the wide range of witness misperceptions. So there we go. He's trying to blame it on a rocket launch.
Yeah, I
But
was just
no
looking at the
occupant
explosions,
possible
though.
from such once-in-a-lifetime sky spectacles.
That
Man, listen,
picture kind of looked like an explosion or a rocket launch.
yeah, but hold on a second. The thing actually stopped and hovered. Now, rocket doesn't do that. And he's quoting from November the 7th, 2015. I mean, I don't the military record these launches. Surely they would, if they had an explanation for what happened there, they would surely have come out with it. Unless they were doing something illegal.
1976. Not sure.
What?
1976. I'm not sure about that. The record keeping.
Yeah. Keep scrolling down, Paul, please. On the second half, missile freak out in California. So he's left a link there. I don't know if you want to click on the link and see what he's got to say. Yes, PDF file. This is the one. Yeah.
Well, we all know what a rocket looks like.
And you can see that this is the effect I was talking about when the sun is just below the horizon. I think we've all seen that. Well, we all should know what one looks like, really, if you're into the UFO subject. As for the military personnel on that boat, well, they must have been thick as I don't know what if they didn't know that was a rocket launch. So
back in 1976, though.
Yeah, I just don't buy Oberg's explanation for this. I just
we've
don't.
got the internet now, and we can look up stuff like this quite easily. Back then, we didn't have those sort of tools, so rocket launch like that would have been a mystery. Even SpaceX fools a lot of people now. It ends up in third phase of the moon after all, where they profit from it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. It's responsible for an awful lot of UFO sightings.
And if the rocket goes wrong, it shoots around in a spiral, as we know. It makes even crazier patterns.
Yeah.
That we're seeing pictures of for the Russian failure launches and some Chinese ones.
If the thing had just passed over everybody, and that would have been fine, I'd have accepted this explanation, but it's just not what the witnesses were describing for me.
Seen two humanoids in a sphere.
You can see some of Oberg's language here, although you're scrolling up and down, I can't get any grip on it at the moment. See these pointers here. Look at them from the top, and you'll see what a condescending little dick Oberg is.
So this is where he's not called class. Robert doesn't like you, debunkers. Okay.
I don't like James Oberg. I've run in with him. I know what he's like. He gets really aggressive when you don't take his point of view.
But so can you be.
Oh yeah, I'm not denying that.
Kiwi West Welshman,
No, it's just that he tries to force his opinion onto you. If someone's got a different opinion to me, I'm willing to let it go at the end of the day, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, but it doesn't explain people seeing humanoids in a sphere.
No,
That's the only thing.
not at all. But he won't address those witnesses, you see.
But I can see
'Cause it doesn't.
here's a picture that he's got here of a explosion, is it? Or is it the sun? Or is that the image? That's sort of a better image. Is that the original image, perhaps? I don't know. What's that one there? Rocket plumes. So that does look like similar to that Polaroid that he's got, I suppose. Depends what angle you look at the rocket launch, maybe.
Yeah, of course.
Unless that's the sun and that's the rocket going through here, I'm not too sure. And it's illuminating making a fogginess around the sun. Cameras crap back in those days. Space plumes he's talking about here. So maybe that's what
Well,
he's
I mean,
talking about.
people could look at the article for themselves, and it's quite educational, but I just don't think that's what happened there. Unless there was multiple events, which often explains a great deal. I mean, if you looked at those trenches around the islands there, the Canary Islands, there was some deep spots there, so it could have been a good place for a sub to launch a missile from. But if it was just a testing, it was just an exercise, then there's absolutely no reason why the military just couldn't say, "Hey, look, don't worry, but that was us."
Well, could it be that they fired a rocket at this thing and it blew it up? But why wouldn't you hear the explosion?
Oh, I don't know. That's but did any of the witnesses report an explosion? No.
Unless it was covered up. But that could explain the picture. That it just got hit by a missile launch and exploded over the ocean.
It's a difficult case because the descriptions vary quite a lot, don't they?
So again, it's two events that happened, and Aberg could be correct, partly correct, but doesn't explain all that happened. But why would they cover up shooting down a UFO? Well, obviously, because it's not of this world. So probably would have crashed. Fragments would have crashed into the sea. Was there any strange searches the next day or the next week where they were looking for debris or anything crazy like that?
No,
So that would change it.
I've heard that. No, never come across anything remotely like that about this case, Paul.
We might find out in the future. You never know. Is there anything else on here? Oh, he's still talking about plumes, is he?
Yeah, I mean,
he puts together pages and pages of stuff, examples, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so hopefully you'll just go away and think, okay, this must have been it, but it's not, is it?
It is
just
another
not as
crappy
described.
photograph. Totally out of focus. It's making my eyes go funny.
Yeah.
When you're halfway through his article here is crazy.
No, that's done now. That case is done, Paul.
Trident, here we go. Still on the Tridents. Yeah, Canary Islands, here we go. Mid-1970s. So this might be the part of the article he's referring to, I think. Richard Dolan discusses Canary Island sphere incident and addresses the threadbare debunker argument.
Well, Dolan's, he's absolutely right on this because it's got nothing, the debunker's argument has got nothing that suggests this is what the witnesses were seeing. It's a poor attempt to debunk. As far as I'm concerned, I think something happened and they can't explain it, and that's the end of it.
So he's saying it's a missile test, by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Mid-March 1979. Yeah, it sort of looks like that explosion thing with the thing if you look at the two ends. But it's still not a close match because that was much lower to the sea and it was sort of cut off. It's close, but not close enough to be the possible answer. Humanoids.
Oh no, doesn't explain that part of it at all. But of course, we've only got a small number of witnesses for that particular event. That Alma seems a separate event, doesn't it? You know.
He did not report also seeing the fuzzy globes seen by all other witnesses in the same section of sky. He judged the globe to be floating over the road about 100 meters in front of him. So he's saying the eyewitness is mistaken and he's actually seeing a rocket launch from far away. I think that's what he's trying to say here. Globular craft inside of which is perceived shapes of two humanoids. So how's he going to explain two humanoids though? He's tried to debunk it here though. Car lights. Okay, he's talking about car lights now. Luminous sphere that was stationary and very close to the ground, although I can't say for sure if it was touching it. It was made of totally transparent crystal-like material, which we read before.
Yeah.
So what's his explanation for that then?
I don't think he would have touched that, would he?
Bluish smoke could be. He's going to explain that as a rocket launch. Now high was moving slowly towards Tenerife. Suddenly it reached enormous speeds like none I've ever saw in an airplane. Mind you, they wouldn't have seen too many rocket launches back in those days, eyewitnesses. Not like today, that we have it on TV. And
no, but the military personnel would surely have known what it was, Paul.
So he's comparing that rocket launch here to the two humanoids of 10 feet. I don't know. It's sort of a really vague debunk, really.
Yeah. Okay, should we move on then?
Hang on. And there's that spiral effect that we're talking about where the rocket launch goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Always spiral. And you got the blue stuff coming out for some reason. Because it's probably going through ice crystals. But anyway.
It's the gases.
Yeah, he's trying to match things up to something logical, but maybe it's not really logical enough, you know. I can understand his thinking here as a debunker, but yeah, to say that consoles it doesn't really. It gives some possible things to look into to see if you can prove it beyond doubt, but that's about it, really. It's not solved it at all. So what else do we got here? Is that it?
Yep. So, folks, on that one.
What other people say? See precise dates. Obu's still going.
Oh no! Don't open any more of this stuff, please, Paul.
See how the debate goes. Brief article.
Yeah, it went on for quite a long time, you know.
Yeah.
We don't have time for all this. But I mean, you know, the guys that are viewing have got the link, so they can always go and look into it in more detail. You could actually spend hours and hours just on this case. No doubt at all.
So he's put the open minds.
If you really want to take a deep dive, you could probably spend days and weeks and months on it.
Yeah.
You know, if you were to chase up all the leads, I mean.
Yep. So what we do next then? Triangle sightings, is it?
Yes. Yeah, this first article is a compilation, and then I'm going to choose one of them from this compilation. I'm going to take a deeper dive into that one.
What's Ken saying about swimming?
Go.
Sometimes I don't understand the side chat when I look at it and think, yeah.
Yeah, it's not UFO related. That's why, Paul.
Okay, mysterious universe. Do we need to shrink it down? Oh no, it's probably all right.
So.
Whereabouts are we heading to here? France again, is it?
No, it's not. It's a compilation, Paul. They're all over the place.
Mississippi.
That's why I never put down the location.
Maybe we should actually map all the locations, see how they all interconnect.
Oh, well, I don't think that's a good idea right now. It's just going to take too long.
I like to see patterns. If it's the same craft, we can see how it travels and all that sort of business. Anyway.
They're years apart as well, you see. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, it might have some sort of correlation to an Air Force base with nukes or whatever, you know. You just don't see it until you plot it on a map.
Yeah, well, that's where things like big data come in.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that I'd do. Plot it on a map and see where it's located around. That's what a researcher normally does, though, isn't it? Or a debunker would do as well, probably.
For a few decades, sightings of large, triangular-shaped UFOs, usually described as being black in color, very often with rounded, rather than angled corners, and that make a low humming noise, have been reported throughout the world. The sheer proliferation of such reports has led some ufological commentators to strongly suspect that the flying triangles, as they are known, are prime examples of still classified aircraft, the development of which was secretly begun in the early 1980s by elements of the United States Department of Defense and Air Force. And while it would, of course, be foolish to completely rule out such a scenario, the fact is that when placed under scrutiny, this argument doesn't completely stand up. As my extensive research demonstrates, the flying triangles have been with us for a very long time. Indeed, far longer than most people have realized. As you will now see. There is a report of a flying triangle-style UFO described in officially declassified U.S. Air Force documents of May 26, 1949. The account originated with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations at Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana. According to Special Agent Bernard A. Price, investigation at Vicksburg, Mississippi regarding an unidentified aerial phenomena described as being a flying triangle, failed to verify definitely just what type of object was sighted. In this particular case, the object, which was seen on the night of April 22, 1949, was relatively small in size when compared to its present-day equivalents, but was described by the witness to Special Agent Price as moving faster than mail planes, or National Guard planes, but slower than a jet-type aircraft. Also, the object reportedly did not exhibit any kind of propulsion, nor stabilizers or antenna. Moving on, in September 1952, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, coordinated a huge military exercise in the North Sea and North Atlantic. Codenamed Mainbrace, the exercise utilized the armed forces of Britain, the United States, Canada, Norway, Denmark, France, the Netherlands, and Belgium. Approximately 85,000 personnel took part, the purpose of which was to demonstrate to the then Soviet Union that NATO was fully prepared to withstand and counter any possible assault on Western Europe. Only 24 hours into the exercise, 2 reports of encounters with unidentified flying objects were filed with British, American, and NATO authorities by naval personnel on board ships in the Atlantic between Ireland and Iceland. The first involved a blue-green triangle. That was observed flying high shortly after dawn broke over the sea at a speed estimated to have been no less than 1,500 miles per hour. Later that same day, a similar shaped craft, but this time emitting a white light exhaust, was reported to the U.S. Air Force's UFO investigative body known as Project Blue Book. Then, on the night of September 9, 1960, an unidentified flying object, described as a triangular formation of lights with a red light in the center, was viewed by various people in the Consett, South Shields, Fawdon, and Fenham areas of the British city of Newcastle. Leslie Otley said that his wife and 2 neighbors saw the UFO circling over Fenham between 9:15 p.m. and 9:40 p.m. A friend of mine, Mr. A. Miller, telephoned to say he saw them too, over Consett at 8:30 p.m., added Otley, who telephoned a local Royal Air Force Base, RAF Acklington, to report the encounters. After having been firmly pressed by the Newcastle Evening Chronicle newspaper for a comment, a spokesman at RAF Acklington admitted that he had indeed received 2 independent reports of the mystery object, and said that these were duly being forwarded to the Air Ministry at London for examination. He also added, somewhat cryptically, to the newspaper that, I have no further information about this, and even if I had, we are not allowed to release information.
Yeah, so you see, these cases do indeed go back a lot further than what most people presume. I think the best source for the history of these triangles is David Marler's book, which is simply entitled Triangular UFOs. I think he's the leading authority on the subject of these triangles, and it's an excellent book. I read it myself several years ago. But yes, of course, there were sightings going back right to the beginning of the 20th century. But why the sudden explosion in sightings when we came to the 70s and 80s and onwards? They're still being seen to this present day. And there's one thing about the triangle sightings, that descriptions are all so similar. The only thing that seems to vary is the actual size. Seem to come in all shapes and sizes. Maybe one thing that explains the explosion in sightings is when we started developing the stealth type craft, which could, under some circumstances, look triangular.
Well, there could be a lot of explanations for the explosion. It could be that
they're more V-shaped than triangular, aren't they?
Yeah, it could
not
be
a solid triangle.
They talked about 1949 there. So what was the earliest one you said? 1949 was after World War II, right?
Yeah, well, Marler found some that went back before the First World War.
Yeah, so, but is it the same though? Because we know that the Germans were mucking around with the crescent shape or the V-shaped craft wings. So could there be explosion and research in that field? Oh, sure could. Other explanation could be that a craft crashed and they reverse engineered it.
Well, not before the First World War, no, Paul.
No, but the explosion is increased in what time period are we talking about?
I would say that. Well, I'd say the big explosion was Hudson Valley, which wasn't one particular date. It went on for years.
Yeah, now what's the year range is what I'm asking.
Okay, Hudson Valley started in, was it 81 or 82, and it went on for 5, 6, 7 years.
So then we're talking about our technology and material science has finally caught up then. So that could be explained. They finally can make one of them, you see. So if you've got a crashed UFO, it's finally our science is caught up. Well, understands finally of how the material was made and starts manufacturing them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I struggle with these triangles being man-made personally.
But still, we're talking about the secret space force. There could be a whole bank of these flying platforms, as they were known by what's the guy's name? Fourier or something or other. Porsche, or whatever his name was. I can't remember.
Who?
Started with F. The guy that talked about the TR3B. Foyer, guys down the side chat
Oh,
will know who I'm talking about.
yeah. I mean, I think that TR3B is a load of hot wind. It's just a crappy leaked document.
I'm not too
Doesn't
sure.
make any.
I'm not too sure on that.
Well, yeah. Well, I know we differ there. I don't think we have any hope
Because the idea was that it was spinning Mercury at very fast speed inside the craft, and it would create a reduction in the mass. It would create a field, whether it's making it into a superconductor. The whole
it sounds good. It sounds good on paper, Paul. Really
but
does.
they may.
Come on. Let's face it. If it was around in the 80s, they've kept it under wraps for an awful long time, haven't they?
Yeah, but they might only had one machine that they've actually got working.
Oh, for God's sake! There were those sightings over Hudson Valley. There was multiple triangles.
Yeah, but so how many would they really have? Maybe 3 of them, and then suddenly they're flying around, and that people are getting noticed.
And why fly them just a few miles from New York and light them up like a Christmas tree for everyone to see? That's really stealthy, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. Maybe something went wrong, and the cloaking turned off that they were.
Well, it was going wrong every night for months. So no, that doesn't add up to me.
I don't know.
Yeah,
okay. I just don't know.
Yeah, the main body of the Hudson Valley sightings were between 1983 and 1986. So there's a 3-year period there, but there were sightings a little before and a little after those 2 dates. No. So anyway, we'll see as the article progresses. Anyway,
what did Charles saying? Are people walking around with mobile phones, so they're more likely to capture it? Is it what he's saying there? From the 90s, that makes good sense. So that's when the first camera phones started coming up, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how many good photographs there are from that Hudson Valley period, because they just appear as kind of a mobile phone is absolutely useless, really, when it comes to taking a nighttime photograph. Charles, almost next to useless. All you're going to get is a few what's going to look like lights in the sky.
The technology wasn't too good back then.
Yeah, sure, but it does prove one thing, that something was up there. At least it does prove that. So even if you get a crappy photograph, it's better than none.
I don't think I got a camera phone with until the 90s myself.
And the mistake people often make with camera phones is they attempt to zoom in. What they don't realise is they're not using a proper telephoto zoom. They're using a digital zoom. The more you zoom in, the more it affects the quality of the photograph.
Well, actually, it crops the image. It crops the image. It doesn't actually zoom and improve the image of the object in the sky, because it's not optically
makes it a lot worse.
Zoomed. Yeah, they're best to leave it back as a little pin of light and optically zoom it in software like I do. But I suppose we carry on.
Yeah.
Information.
Please.
For the most convincing evidence that exists to support the notion that flying triangles, identical to those seen today, were being viewed much earlier than many students of the mystery would have us believe, we have to turn our attention to, once again, the UK, but this time to early 1965. While digging through a whole host of formerly classified UFO files at the National Archive at Kew, England in 1996, I uncovered a one-page document that revealed some truly startling data. As the relevant, now declassified Ministry of Defense paperwork stated, on March 28, 1965, at around 9:30 p.m. near the town of Richmond, North Yorkshire, a man saw 9 or 10 objects in close triangular formation, each about 100 feet long, orange illumination below, each triangular in shape with rounded corners, making low humming noise. The rounded corners and low humming noise are precisely what many witnesses to flying triangle-style UFO encounters reported throughout the late 1980s and 1990s, and continue to report to this day. Shortly after midnight on Sunday, August 28, 1977, a large object that fits the description of those discussed thus far was seen by more than 10 police officers and several members of the public in and around the Windermere area of Cumbria, England. Sergeant James Trohere described the triangular or slightly diamond-shaped nature of the craft, while another officer commented that it resembled the shape of a stingray fish. Meanwhile, Constable David Wild added that it appeared to be kite-shaped, or like a skate fish, adding that it was very large and solid in construction. It, like so many other sightings of a similar nature, was classified as unexplained. Found in the released records of a now-defunct Ministry of Defense office known as Defense Secretariat 8, is a photocopy of a long letter written by Mark Birdsall, the brother of the late Graham Birdsall, of UFO magazine, and who was heavily active in UFO research in the late 1970s and throughout the 1980s and 1990s. Dated March 27, 1984, the letter from Mark requested access to any and all official data pertaining to a certain UFO incident, the details of which, Mark explained, were known to a high-ranking RAF, Royal Air Force, officer and 13 others, and that had occurred in early 1981. Mark added to the Ministry of Defense that his informant had advised him that the incident involved the sighting of a huge, triangular-shaped object over a military base on Cyprus. It was described as being silver and hanging motionless in the sky at 60,000 feet. The flying triangle, Mark elaborated, was 100 meters in length by 50 meters wide and, according to his sources, was apparently tracked on radar as well as having been sighted visually. On April 24, 1984, declassified Ministry of Defense files reveal, a DS-8 representative replied to Mark Birdsall's letter and advised him that they had no record of any such incident on file.
Yeah, you'll stop
to this
it
day,
there.
the case remains unresolved.
As it, while I popped out there, did it cover the 1960s triangle sighting?
The one that looked like
No,
a
never
stingray.
mind. Okay, it doesn't matter. Mark Birdsall. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of UFO magazine. It was the best magazine ever, and it was Mark and Graham Birdsall. But Graham died, and I think Mark lost interest, and the magazine, well, it's defunct now. It's no longer in print. Who?
Was his name William Burns?
Oh, William Burns. That's the American version of UFO magazine. My fault. I'm glad you brought that up, Paul, because otherwise that would have been confusing. Yeah, Bill Burns, he did an American version of it. Nowhere near as good, by the way.
And they're saying it's a flying triangle. Was that? That wasn't a particular magazine.
No. I just when I seen the Birdsall's name, and I thought I'd explain that.
I thought you were talking about
they were heavily into UFOs in them.
Right.
Yeah, they were quite influential in that period.
Well, you might have been referring to that this was mentioned in a particular episode of a magazine. But obviously
it would have been. I don't know which one.
Just carry on. I'm just going to put socks on. It's actually quite cool.
Contrary to the popular belief perpetuated by elements of the worldwide UFO research community, we now know that sightings of the mysterious flying triangles have proliferated for, quite literally, decades, the 40s, 50s and 60s. They are most assuredly not a relatively recent development. Had we, and by we I mean the collective human race, been designing, building, and flying huge triangular-shaped, high-performance aircraft in the 1950s and 1960s, then surely they would not still be subject to an overwhelming blanket of secrecy to this very day. More likely, they would either have been put to regular use in a battlefield environment, or the projects would have been cancelled as not being seen as ultimately viable. Either way, we would by now have widespread awareness of their existence, in much the same way that the existence of the famous U-2 spy plane of the Cold War, and today's F-117 stealth fighter, and the B-2 stealth bomber have been acknowledged. The fact that we do not have such awareness, however, and the fact that the UFO research community is
Right,
still
I'm
scratching
back.
its collective head as it seeks to resolve the puzzle suggests strongly that the flying triangle has a far stranger point of origin. Those who seek a definitive answer to the conundrum of the flying triangle might be very wise to turn their attentions away from restricted military bases and firmly towards the distant heavens.
Oh, we got to the end.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Nicholas, I don't always agree on his conclusions, but he is quite thorough once he gets into something. I'll give him that.
Mm,
Okay.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Not always. He seems to knock out lots of books, and I think when you do
Well, that's
that,
what he is. He's a professional author, and when you do that, Paul, I know what you're going to say. You're looking for material all the time, aren't you?
yeah, and plus,
So, yeah.
and then you can just add in all sorts of stuff into the story, which may not even be relevant. You know, like stuff from the 1800s, from manuscripts or whatever, you know. Which I'm pretty sure he has done in some of his stuff. Was it the Men in Black? Was it Men in Black? No, it wasn't the Men in Black. It was something else. Can't remember now. Maybe it was Fireballs or something. But anyway, what do we got next? Is more on this?
Okay.
Or...
yeah, sure. Just give me 1 second here to.
I'll just have a look. What's Ken up to? He's being loved. Is that sarcasm or real love?
Shelley said she remembers UFO magazine. Well, I think you'd remember Bill Burns's UFO magazine unless you were getting them imported from the UK.
It's not made anymore. I don't think it's gone under, isn't it?
No. I don't know about Bill Burns's magazine. I'm not sure if that's still going. But the UK one has been. They stopped that years ago. I've got about I'd say about 150 magazines, but I haven't got them all, and the ones I've got missing are quite difficult to get now. And if you're buying them individually,
I think they were scanning the US one, and you can buy them as PDFs, but still they're quite expensive as PDFs.
Okay, I've left another link for you then.
To me, I reckon after a certain time period, it should be free. You know, people should thing and maybe offer to donate if they enjoy it or whatever. I don't know, but the problem with UFO stuff is people want to make money off it all the time. It's just like Open Minds. People are saying that Rojas is money grabbing now. But I can understand that they need to make some money. They need to keep covering costs.
For God's sakes, man. He's only charging £1.99.
Yeah, I know.
And,
but what he can do is, but what he should do is make it available to people that want to pay to get the information or interviews early, and after 2 weeks release it free, and then it gets rid of that tag that he's money hungry.
I think he's doing that anyway, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what I said to people that were commenting on Rojas. I said, well, it's not really fair. But I'm not too sure if he's releasing them after 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know about that because I haven't seen the interview with what was it now? Chris Mellon interview. I haven't seen that one come out. Yeah. Is that one free now?
Okay. I don't know, Paul. It's only about 20 minutes long, and I'll be honest with you, it's not that good. He's really cagey.
But that probably should be released about now. Then people can't complain. It's that only people that pay can get to read the information. So that's my problem with UFO field. You know, everything's got to be bought, but really, there should be a free version. Maybe it's subpar or whatever. Maybe it's not quite HD or whatever, but still, you could make it free available. And people.
Did I tell you what he done with me? Yeah, so I made the pledge, £2 a month,
Mm.
And he sent me my money back.
Why? What did you do that for?
I know I was banned from it. I knew I was banned from his group, but come on, that was a little bit harsh. So I got in touch with him and I said, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Oh, okay then." Yeah.
He doesn't
And I
like
was
you
like, "Yeah."
then.
No, of course he doesn't.
Okay, I'll let you.
Yeah.
You keep
Flipping heck.
offending people, Robert.
No, I think he accepted. I think he thought I was going to insult him down the side chat and all that
All
stuff,
right.
you know. But
Right.
yeah, but
So did you have to
it's all
send the
fine now.
money? Did you have to send the money back again?
No, no, I don't know. He done it somehow. I'm not sure how.
All right.
I'm not even sure I am paying now, but I'm getting full access anyway. I'm not complaining.
Well, I remember seeing you with a little badge on the side, and he was
Yeah, I know.
promoting you and saying good things about you.
Yeah, what a turnaround. But honestly, that's what originally happened. He sent me my money back. I don't want your money.
I think he's trying to. I
I
think he's trying to build bridges and mend bridges now. He's making friends with Black Vault again, and
yeah, that's good. That's
whatnot,
actually good because
you know.
everyone's a bit stronger when they're together. Do you know what I mean? All these structures that you get in ufology aren't benefiting anybody.
I think he got.
Let's be honest.
I think he got done over by Corbell stuff myself.
Well, that's the reason I got banned because of Corbell. To be honest,
yeah, and I got bound over Jason Gleaves, the wannabe video analysis guy. If you speak your mind, you get banned. That's the way it happens.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, half of these people, I mean, like Corbell was actually on Open Minds. He was a member, wasn't he?
Yep.
I tagged him a few times, but he wouldn't answer my questions.
So we've got some more on triangles.
Yeah, we have. Have you got the link? There's been a bit of side chat. It's flowing up a bit
UFOs,
now.
the flying triangle mystery deepens surprising developments.
Ah, yes,
Dateline,
this is the one.
Wednesday,
Good one.
August 3rd, 2005. Many people with an interest in the UFO mystery will have heard of the so-called flying triangle puzzle. For more than a decade, sightings of large, triangular-shaped UFOs, often black in color, with rounded corners, and making a low, humming noise have been reported throughout the world. A perfect example is a wave of such sightings that occurred over Staffordshire, England, in 1988, and that has been investigated extensively by Graham Allen, of the Staffordshire UFO Group. The picture that accompanies this article displays a classic rendition of the triangles, similar to that which can be found on the cover of the Staffordshire UFO Group's DVD on the 1988 wave, Cannock Chase UFO Hotspot UK. The fact that the wealth of such reports is in stark contrast to the situation decades previously when saucer-shaped vehicles were seen in abundance, has led some commentators to suspect that the triangles are military aircraft, developed relatively recently, and perhaps along the lines of a next-generation stealth-type vehicle. Some probably are. However, sightings of practically identical vehicles date back at least 40 years, and can be documented in official level. While digging through a whole host of formerly classified files on UFOs at the National Archive at Kew, England, I came across a one-page report dated March 28, 1965 that, I confess, I almost overlooked. On closer inspection, however, I realized that it was potentially one of the most important UFO-related documents that I had ever come across. According to the MOD paperwork, on the night in question a man saw at approximately 9:30 p.m. over moorland near Richmond, North Yorkshire, 9 or 10 objects, in close triangular formation each about 100 feet long, orange illumination below, each triangular in shape with rounded corners, making low humming noise. Interestingly, the rounded corners and low humming noise are, as I said above, precisely what many witnesses to flying triangle-style UFO encounters are reporting today, in a worldwide capacity, no less.
Yeah, see, 9 or 10 objects in close triangular formation. I mean, their blows, or they might only have one of them, completely out the water, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The low humming noise, again. Sounds like a really good case, this.
Less. Recognizing the significance of this, I made a photocopy of the document and set about locating the witness. I introduced myself and explained that I had located at the National Archive a copy of the original report that dealt with his sighting all those years ago. It is fair to say that he was shocked, to say the least, to find that details of his long-gone encounter had been kept on file by the Ministry of Defense for more than 30 years. Yes, I did send in a report all those years ago, but I didn't think they would have kept it all this time, he told me, with astonishment in his voice. As he explained, on March 28, 1965 at approximately 9:30 p.m., he had been driving through the North Yorkshire moors of England when, on approaching the village of Skeby, near Richmond, the engine of his car began to splutter and die. It was a 1951 Ford, he stated, adding with some humor, and it was a good car, but a bit unpredictable at times. I didn't want to break down on the moor because it was icy cold, and the nights were still dark. I got out of the car to have a look at the engine, and that's when I saw this light. He continued, at first, because it was so dark, I wondered if it might be a weather balloon. But then I had a good look at it over the hedge, and realized how big it was, and how low down it was. It was about 100 feet from end to end, about 100 feet above the moors and S. It kept coming towards me, and then stopped about 200 yards from me over the moors. It hovered for a while, nothing came out of it, but there was a light below it that just pulsated like a light bulb. There could have been quite a few lights on it, but from a distance the light just looked like a glow. Then without a warning, it just took off at a speed that isn't recognized. Good gracious, I thought, it must be a UFO. As it shot up, not vertically, but at an angle, it joined a group of others that were identical, and that were in a triangular or V formation. The others were very, very high, a whole fleet of them. They all then headed south, I think, at a tremendous speed and disappeared over the horizon. I saw the main one for no more than a couple of minutes, he recalled, but after they had gone I was still stood by the moor watching this fleet disappear. I waited in case something else exciting happened, but of course it didn't. Curiously, shortly after the encounter, and after having reported the incident to the Ministry of Defense at Whitehall, the man began to notice awful red marks on my skin which were like a stretch mark, but they were like a deep salmon red, and they kept coming and going. But I didn't have them before.
Yes, what he was saying there, we've seen that in other sightings of these triangles that are very slow moving, even hovering, and then suddenly there's like an instant acceleration and that they're just gone or in the distance. And me telling you about that Colin Saunders and his sighting, he was going to come on the show and talk about it, but for some reason he backed out of it. It was really similar as well. He lost sight of it for like a second. And when he came back into view, it had gone, but it hadn't actually gone. He could still see it, but now it was like 15 miles away. You know, but he could still see it in the distance, but he wasn't even sure at the time that it was the same one, because he just couldn't believe how it could have got from where it was to where it was in the time span. He lost sight of it, which he said was a second or so. Strange. And no sound at all.
So was he talking about stretch marks here?
Yeah, so a stretch mark is, you know, the kind of thing that you'd get if you put on a lot of weight quickly, and it's like it leaves like a reddish type of scarring.
Yeah, I think that people know what a stretch mark is, but
I don't know. Not everybody does. So it's best to make sure. Yeah, deep salmon red. That's the colour of stretch marks as well. So I don't know, some kind of physical effect as well, which is quite unusual in the triangle cases.
Unless it expands the water in the body of a person, which causes the stretch marks. But then does it disappear, did they say?
Ooh, I think you'd notice that, but I'm not sure.
Carry on.
Before. The most bizarre angle of the entire episode was still to come, however, as he graphically illustrated. For about 18 months after the sighting, I would get strange telephone calls from people. These would be every 2 or 3 months. They just phoned out of the blue but didn't introduce themselves. They just said they were from some bureau or other. They didn't mention the name of the bureau, but kept mentioning sightings, and asked whether I had seen anything else strange. Had any men come to interview me? The man was never visited by anyone with regard to his flying triangle encounter, nor did the mod ever offer an explanation as to what it was that he saw on that fateful night in March 1965. To this day, however, that series of strange and unnerving telephone calls continues to mystify him, primarily because aside from informing the mod of what had occurred, he made no other report, either official or unofficial, with anyone and kept the details to himself, as he is at pains to point out. The only report I ever made was the one I sent to the mod. It was so exciting that I had to tell someone.
That's the MOD, the Ministry
His
of
important
Defence.
testimony raises
Yeah,
a
we're
number of
waiting for
vital
Nick
questions.
Pope to show
Why
up.
was someone so determined to
No,
find out
no.
if he had received any strange visits with regard to his encounter? Why the interest in knowing if he had had any other unusual encounters of a UFO nature? And most important of all, who was his mysterious caller? Was he subjected to such lengthy questioning because he inadvertently caught sight of a classified military project that the authorities wanted keeping under wraps, or because it was suspected that he had viewed something that was truly out of this world? To this day, he remains mystified by his extraordinary encounter over the Yorkshire moors in 1965. However, of one thing we can now be certain: the flying triangles are not a new phenomenon. It is truly ironic, however, that confirmation of this fact should come via the previously withheld files of the British Ministry of Defence.
So there we have a case from 1965 with an eyewitness and a load of documentation to go with it. 1965 triangle, describing exactly what we're seeing today. So what would that make it? 55 years in the making and still not officially released?
It's possible.
I have to say, yeah. Paul, I struggle with that big time. I think you're in the realms of fantasy if you believe this is what he's seen now is man-made, and they're still keeping it in some hangar somewhere to bring it out one day. And I mean, there would have been no Vietnam War if it had that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think
There'd be no
Susan's
need
gone
for a
off for
war.
pizza.
Okay.
She's getting pizza, making me hungry thinking about pizza.
Don't you start.
I suppose you're hungry too.
I'm not too bad. I had something before we started, you know.
Someone's into Nutella there. Plex from Germany. Yeah, Charlie likes Nutella. He's not meant to have it, but he just dribbles at the side of Nutella for some reason. That's a good way to get a pill down his neck anyway. Stick some on your finger. Susan. He's going yuck. Sweet and salty things. Sour cream on pizza. God knows. No, you want stringy, tasty cheese. What do we got next?
Okay. Well, it wouldn't be Sunday if we didn't have a good old abduction, eh?
We got Kentucky coming up too, haven't we?
We have indeed. We shall do that one after
woman.
this. Wes, I wonder if Nick Pope was one of the mischievous callers. Yeah.
That's what I said, laugh
Nick
out
Pope.
loud there.
He doesn't say a lot, does he?
I haven't heard much of Nick Pope lately. He's gone a bit quiet, has he?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything of him for about 6 months or so now.
Maybe he's making documentaries and end up on TV again on a series.
No, I'm not talking of documentaries now. There's some news that I meant to bring up at the start of it with James Fox. I think you probably know that he's the one that done I Know What I Saw and Out of the Blue, which were some of the best documentary films I've ever done, really, on UFOs. And he had another one due out in September, which was called Phenomena. And it hasn't been cancelled, but what ends up in the film is now out of his hands. In other words, the best
I
part
mentioned
of
it
the
yesterday.
documentary. Okay, but now he fears the best parts of the documentary are going to end up on the cutting room floor. Now that's a shame.
I haven't seen that comment, but
Oh yeah. I followed it. I
did you?
followed all the comments.
Right.
And so he's in a situation now where he fights it, and what he's saying, if I try too hard to push everything I want into the film,
Why would they
could
cut out the best bits? So that's pointless.
Exactly. I don't know. They've done this in the past, Paul. Maybe somebody's got in touch with the editor and said, "Look,
Take that out.
Take that out." Exactly. Yeah. It's. I'd love to know exactly who is behind that. And according to Fox, the guy in charge won't even talk to him about it. Well, that's. I'd love to know the reason behind that.
I want to know if
really
they paid $100,000 to the best footage, because that was on offer for the movie, wasn't it?
The only thing he can do is take his film away and put it on another platform. But then again, he's not going to earn much from it then, is he?
Yeah, I don't know why you can't make the movie totally yourself. You know what I mean? Go interview and then splice it all together. Same as, I suppose it might end up like a Corbell movie where it's a disaster, but still it's going to be your own sort of edit of it.
I'm presuming that the documentary's pretty much complete. It's just what's included in the final cut. That's all.
Yeah, maybe DVD extras has all the good bits.
It's his material, and he can do what he likes with it, but he's going to lose cash, isn't he?
Well, he's already lost. He's lost the limelight, really, because there's another movie that came out to cover the same school scenario, wasn't it? In Africa, where someone made a movie and went around interviewing all the same people.
I can't remember his name now, but you're talking about the Ariel Zimbabwe school incident.
I think it was called Aerial Incident movie or something like that. I can't remember now, but so that sort of took the thunder out of his movie straight away, I thought, because he spent quite a lot of time with those people doing HD interviews, right? Because we haven't got really high quality interviews of all these people, and the drawings and all that they've done. We can only find crappy old versions going back to John Mack days. But it's still good. It's still history. Seeing the original descriptions and stories and compare it to what they're saying today and see if anything's changed or been added. But I think it's been fairly constant from what I've heard anyway. The stories are not changed. But
I think that's due out in September as well, but it's kind of COVID.
Plus you got, they're blaming C-19 over it. But also something else happened. The TTSA stole his funder on his movie as well, didn't they? With the Unidentified series coming out. There was something else.
Talking about David Beatty now, the Nimitz encounters. I don't think TTSA got anything to do with the Zimbabwe case.
Yeah, I don't know if James Fox had any of those Nimitz people on the movie at all. So that could have stuffed it up too, you see. Because we don't know what he's doing. We don't know who's getting $100,000 if anybody actually had any good footage and maybe no one gets it. But the problem, once you start offering money like that, you get a lot of hoaxes and stuff. That sort of ruins it.
Oh, I don't think any of the witnesses were paid, Paul.
No, but he did offer $100,000 for the best UFO footage
Okay.
for the movie to make it. He wanted to make it like a box buster, didn't he?
Yeah,
he
well, I
it,
mean, if it was full of fake footage, to be honest, I don't think there'd be this backlash towards it.
yeah, but I don't think it's going to be
Definitely
box
some
office.
people have had I don't know, but some people have had a sneak preview into that film, and they say it's absolutely the best there's been as yet. But what we'll get to see of it now, I really don't know. Let's just hope he can find a way of getting all the footage out. We'll see.
He must have signed over stuff where he lost control of it. Then
Exactly.
So sounds like it's his own fault. You're saying?
Yeah, it's some kind of contract, isn't it? Well, he probably put trust in the people.
Well, they were funding it. Or maybe they had shares or funds in it where they could...
Yeah, some kind of contract, Paul, I don't know.
He had Lee Spiegel working with it too, didn't he? Anyway, better carry on.
Yeah,
1968.
I just need to pop to the toilet.
The 1968 alien abduction
number
at
4.
Buff Ledge. First published, September 22nd, 2018. Last updated, July 18th, 2020. Written by Marcus Loth. Estimated reading time, 6 minutes. Posted in Aliens, Abductions. 1 comment. An apparent case of alien abduction at Buff Ledge, a summer camp for girls in Vermont, in the summer of 1968 went unreported for a decade before one of the witnesses, suffering from intense nightmares of his experience, would enter his version of the account onto the record of the Center for UFO Studies. The report would catch the attention of UFO researcher and investigator Walter Webb, who would conduct extensive and thorough investigations into the incident. Although there were accusations of a hoax from residents who still reside in the area and alumni of the now closed summer camp, it was the firm opinion of Webb that such a plot simply wasn't possible. And furthermore, had the 2 witnesses been a part of such a hoax, they wouldn't have waited 10 years to report it. Nor would they have lost contact with each other almost immediately after. It would appear to Webb, and indeed other researchers who have examined the case since, that the events at Buff Ledge are not only credible, but potentially important to the overall UFO and alien question.
So, speaking of alien abductions, the behavioural panel managed to get an interview with, what's that guy from Berkshire UFO incident. What was this guy's name? Forget it. But it was like an hour-long interrogation of the guy. And yeah, I was watching it and I thought, yeah, he's touching his head. So is that like a security blanket that he's doing there? But yeah, he was looking in the right directions and all that business. But it'd be interesting to see how these guys read the body language. But him and his mother, to me, seem to be very credible on the body language. So I just have waiting for the final summary of that one. Excellent one to watch. Behavioural panel. Not sure if I got it handy here, but we should really paste it down the side for people to watch it ahead of time, because we may talk about it.
It is really good. It's really good. Yeah, the Berkshire incident, I think you're talking about, yes?
Yeah, what was the guy's name that offered himself up as a victim to the panel? I'm just trying to find it. Behavior panel. I just posted it down the site. Tom Reed, was it? Tom Reed, yeah. Was that the one? Part 2. Behavior panel questions about the Berkshire It's really, really good.
It is good.
Why is it part 2 there, though? Now let me just check to see if it's the right one before I paste it down the side.
Hi there. Usually,
Alright, so I think it's the right one. Is that the one? Really good. About an hour long, is it?
the behavior panel will take a piece of video and we'll chop it up, and then we'll talk about what we see in that person's behavior that we're supposed to be analyzing, right? We're not doing that today. What we're going to do today is we're talking to two different people, but pretty much at the same time in one section of the video. And this video is long. It's really long. And it's long because we've been really selfish in this. This isn't for the regular old viewer who like really likes the kind of stuff we do. That's not what's going on here. What you're going to see here is an interrogation. And you're going to see, we'll ask a question, and then we're going to be quiet. And we're going to sit there. And you're going to get bored watching this. And you're going to get tired of it. You're going to move on. That's fine. But I'm telling you ahead of time, that's what's happening. We're trying
on the stool, and my mother was working on the cash register. My grandmother was.
See, his eye movements, a lot of time he's looking upwards, which is memory recall. But this thing here, where he puts his hand on the head, I'll be interested to see how they interpret that. Whether that's like a blanket, security blanket there, where he's a bit afraid to actually talk about it. Or I'd be interested to see how they interpret that. But to me, I thought him and his mother were very credible. I couldn't see any deception in the body language at all. They was pretty constant, pretty open with the questions, I thought. So, yeah, looks like something may have really happened there, I reckon. But we'll see what they come back with. I thought they had something out already by now. Let's have a quick look, just in case we haven't got notifications, because Google does that sometimes.
Okay, now we can't start a case and go on a diversion like this, can we?
No, but while you were away, I thought I'd bring it up. What was in memory, because the abduction case we've got going at the moment triggered my memory to that. So we may come back to the outcome of this and talk about it later on. So I'm putting the link there now, so people who are hardcore followers, the whole 10 of them, may start watching that ahead of time. Anyway, we go back to this one. I only just read out the intro on it, because I didn't want to get too far into it without you here, because you're the one that's meant to be conducting it.
Okay.
Okay, that'll do.
Not too long, It's quite a short case, this.
Strange lights at the lake. On the late afternoon of August 7th, 1968, two employees of Buff Ledge Summer Camp, 16-year-old maintenance worker, Michael Lapp, and 19-year-old ski instructor, Janet Cornell, were relaxing on the edge of a boat dock watching the slowly setting sun dance on the water. The summer camp sat on the shores of Lake Champlain in Vermont, just north of Burlington, which, incidentally, is where most of the campers were this particular evening, attending a swim meet. Hence the entire campsite was almost deserted. As the sun bid farewell to the day and night took charge, Michael noticed a strange light in the distance. At first, thinking it was a star or even a planet, he sat watching contently. Then, the light suddenly dropped much lower to the ground. And what's more, it was moving towards the teenagers at an alarming rate. As the pair watched this otherworldly performance, three separate lights detached from the first, large glow. These three lights would head directly towards the lake, while the larger light seemed to ascend again, rather quickly, and disappear from sight. The three glowing orbs zigzagged and danced between themselves over the shimmering waters below, pulling off moves that neither had seen an airplane or helicopter manage. As the two teenagers continued to watch, the three shining objects moved closer still to them. Then, they formed a triangle shape, and remained still for a second, before two of them moved away slightly. As they did so, a sound rang out like 1,000 tuning forks, which caused considerable discomfort to the pair. The remaining object suddenly shot upward before diving straight into the lake and vanishing beneath the surface.
Oh.
Then it reappeared and glided across the water, heading straight for them.
Glided.
Two childlike creatures in a transparent dome. As the object continued its approach, Michael made out a transparent dome, seemingly on top of it. Inside this dome, he could make out two childlike creatures with elongated necks and large heads. He also noticed their large eyes which stretched around to the sides of their heads. As it moved closer, rising from the water, and hovering directly over the unnerved teenagers, it fired a beam towards them. Michael grabbed Janet out of the way, forcing both of them to the ground, and away from the strange light. He would later report he remembered shouting at the object, "We don't want to go," as fears and stories of alien abduction filled his mind. He would also recall that he could see the bones in his hands, as if viewing an X-ray, such was the brightness of the light beam. It passed closer to them. Each would recall that it caused a floating sensation. And, even stranger, that the light itself had a liquid feel to it. The next thing either of the teenagers knew, they were sat calmly on the boating dock. The intense light was gone, and the strange object was now much farther in the distance, and heading away from them. The sky was now no longer the dark blue of early evening, but completely black, suggesting it was much later. When Michael turned to Janet, she appeared to be in a trance. Both of them felt somewhat disorientated and confused. As the strange object finally vanished from sight, the pair could hear the other campers back from their swim meet. Michael's sketch. A decade of intense nightmares. Michael and Janet would keep the sightings strictly to themselves for the remainder of the summer. And following the end of the camp season, the two witnesses would depart back home, and back to their individual plans and lives. However, over the years, Michael began to suffer increasingly intense nightmares. They were always the same, of being abducted and not wanting to go. The dreams eventually made him think about the incident at Buff Ledge more and more until eventually, 10 years after the encounter, he would contact the Center for UFO Studies to make a report. UFO researcher Walter Webb would take on the case. He would almost immediately suggest hypnotic regression to get to the bottom of the nightmares, and to find out just what happened on the boating dock in the summer of 1968. It would appear those memories were bubbling just below the surface, as Michael immediately recalled the incidents as soon as he was regressed. He would state that the light had seized both of them, and lifted them on board the craft. He recalled streams of approaching colored lights, while also noticing a loud whine the nearer to the craft he got. Once inside the craft, he could see Janet laying on a table and under examination. Several of the small entities performed the procedure. They would shine lights in each of her eyes and take samples of skin, hair, and blood. He viewed the events from some kind of upper deck, with one of the alien creatures beside him. Inside the dome. As he looked upwards to the transparent dome, he could clearly see the Earth, the Moon, and an everlasting net of stars against the blackness of space. Michael also noticed a huge cigar-shaped craft, which he assumed was a mothership. He would recall how these creatures all looked exactly the same, and how their bodies had a damp and clammy look and feel to them. He estimated them to be around 5 feet tall with long, thin arms and legs.
Undersea creatures then.
Their skin was a strange greenish blue, a similar color to the skin-tight green suits they wore, which made them appear as though they were naked. He would further recall that each had 3 pointed web-like digits for their hands.
Sounds like water creatures.
During this, the entity placed a thought into Michael's mind. Their mission was to make life like ours, other places. When pressed on this, the explanation was much clearer. They wished for life on Earth to be like their planet, without violence. He would also recall that the entity was surprised that he was alert and asking questions. Perhaps ominously, and correctly, the creature would state that because of this it would be difficult for him after the experience was over. Despite the situation, and for reasons he didn't understand, Michael claimed to have a great affinity or closeness with this particular entity. The creature then led Michael down a set of steps and onto the floor, which housed the table upon which Janet lay. Then, the creature led Michael to another table. It tilted slightly to allow him to lean against it before returning to its horizontal position. The last thing he remembered is looking out of the transparent dome, seeing the large cigar-shaped ship now much closer. Then he lost consciousness.
I always wonder why they need tables, though. If they can
Yeah.
master anti-gravity, why can't they just float there on a imaginary surface?
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't make like most
Hmm.
abduction cases. It doesn't really add up, does it?
No.
I don't know. The only problem I have with this case is it was 10 years it took him to report the case. I suppose that's an awful long time to learn about abductions if you were trying to pull a stunt. Although there's certain parts of the case that really seem to ring true with other abductee stories. Another thing here. Now, there was a second witness, wasn't there? What happened to her? Was she ever contacted?
Mm.
Did she tell the same story? So obviously they parted ways at some stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's roll on with the case and we might see.
Consciousness. A real external event with no opportunity for collusion.
Yeah, I'll be back in a minute.
During the investigation, Webb had managed to track down and convince Janet, now a married 29-year-old, to also undergo regression. What she described under hypnosis corroborated Michael's version of events entirely. She would recall laying on the examination table, which induced a cold feeling within her. She also recalled something pulling my hair and pinching my neck. Furthermore, like Michael, she recalled following one particular entity, who she referred to as her guide,
Okay.
and who was her only source of comfort throughout the experience. Webb would also conduct extensive research with numerous ex-employees of the summer camp and the guests during the summer of 1968. He discovered that several employees at Buff Ledge had witnessed strange lights and objects over Lake Champlain on the same evening that Michael and Janet claimed to have been abducted. Furthermore, 2 other employees would also report to Webb they suspected they too were the victims of abduction. The incident was earlier in the summer, several weeks before the August incident of Michael and Janet. However, it mirrored theirs almost exactly. An incident which began with strange lights over the waters followed by the appearance of a disc-like craft. Webb would also perform several character evaluations on both Michael and Janet. All in all, they were, according to his research, credible witnesses with no reason to manufacture such a story.
Okay.
Certainly not 10 years after the fact, with no known contact between the pair since the summer of the incident. Overall, Webb would find the pair had no opportunity for collusion and experienced a real external event of unknown origin. The short video below looks at the details again in a little more detail.
I see there's a new feature they've added on live streams here called a highlight reel. I think you click on it and it creates like a 20-second segment and it makes a separate video on your YouTube channel for you. I'm too scared to click it to see what it does.
Oh, don't, God's sakes, yeah, don't do it now. But yeah, so we did chase up the female witness and she corroborated the story. And that lends a lot more credence to it, doesn't it? Especially because it seems, at least it seems, that there was no contact between the two after the actual event. So, yeah, well, that's an interesting case indeed. But of course, there's no way for sure to know that they hadn't been in contact and had concocted it all. But I don't know. I really don't know. Wonder if there was any other witnesses that came forward that seen, something in the sky on that particular night, if they were even sure the date that is. I don't know. I don't know if you can, what's below, I'm not sure if you can play any of that. I don't really know. Is it from a TV show, blah, blah?
Kind of looks like it might be. Can't see a UFO tuber doing artwork like that, but let's have a look. It's probably Unsolved Mysteries. Oh. Okay. Can't quite read it on that embedded thing. I got my t-shirt on today that's got Want to Believe but not Suckered, and it's got Tyler's famous Oxo Cube UFO from Texas. Remember that one? The Cube UFO. So let's see. Beyond creepy doesn't quite say, does it?
North of Burlington on Lake Champlain in Vermont, Michael Lapp, a 16-year-old maintenance man, and Janet Cornell, a 19-year-old water ski instructor, were seated on a boat dock when they had a terrifying encounter with the unknown. It was August 7, 1968. The swim team had made a trip to Burlington to compete in a meet, and the camp was virtually deserted except for Cornell and Lapp. It was late in the afternoon, a gorgeous day. Lapp and Cornell had performed their required chores, and the pair decided to head down to the lake and relax. Sitting on the edge of the dock, they took in the beauty of the setting sun over the tranquil water. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in the darkening sky. Michael immediately suspected they were looking at Venus. As they watched, the light seemed to grow brighter, and it drew closer. "Wow, Venus is falling," Michael screamed. Soon the object was close enough that they were able to make out that it was saucer-shaped. Eventually 3 smaller lights emerged from the single light, and they immediately soared over the lake. The larger object seemed to just disappear as the 3 others performed shockingly unconventional maneuvers, including zigzags, loops, and straight drops that
So that looks like it's not a TV show because it's got annoying music that's louder than the voice.
Yeah.
So looks like he's telling the story with some pictures. I'm not sure if he drew them himself. BC, Canada, maybe. So here's a link to it here. I'll clip it off a wee bit so it's not sort of defaces it a wee bit, but still we might get some complaint. Giving him a plug, I don't know. Some people complain. How many subs has he got? It makes a difference. He's got way more than us, 154, so he might not be happy, but who knows.
resemble falling leaves in the darkening sky. The 2 teenagers sat mesmerized. The 3 objects then came together in a triangle formation. 2 of them pulled away, leaving just 1 out front. They heard what sounded like 1,000 tuning forks as the 2 objects pulled back. The last UFO then passed right over them, shot upward, and briefly disappeared. When it reappeared, it tilted to one side and then plunged straight into the lake. A few minutes later, the object surfaced and began coming towards the 2 teenagers. The dome-shaped UFO was now close enough that 2 beings could be seen through the transparent cupola of the object.
Already.
The beings appeared childlike. Their necks were elongated and they had big heads, especially for the size of their body. They had no hair, but large eyes which wrapped around the side of their heads. Lapp sensed the visitors were attempting to communicate with him. For some odd reason, Lapp slapped his knee. One of the beings mimicked his action. At that point, the object moved directly over their heads. It shot a beam of light at the 2. It was so bright that they were able to see the bones in their hand, like an X-ray. Terrified, Michael grabbed Janet's shoulder and pulled back, landing both of them on the dock on their backs. Lapp was overcome with fear as he began to sense that the beings were going to capture them. "We don't want to go," he screamed. The 2 teenagers recalled that the beam had a liquid feel to it, and both had the sensation of free-floating. The next thing Lapp remembered was hearing the sound of others returning from the swim meet. As he sat gazing at the object, Janet, sitting beside him, seemed to be in a weird trance-like state. It was now totally dark. The strange object was now a distant light out over the lake, which flashed an occasional beam until it vanished completely. At least 3 other people returning from the swim meet also observed the object as it departed. "How long have we been here?" Lapp asked Janet. Strangely, Michael and Janet did not discuss what had happened to them, not then, and not for the next couple of weeks when camp season ended. Given the strange nature of what they saw, they could only chalk it up to an optical illusion. When summer camp ended, the 2 went on their separate ways. Lapp rarely thought about his experience for the next 5 years, but as time went by, he began to have disturbing dreams about being abducted. He sensed it had something to do with the sighting back in 1968. Even though the dreams disturbed him greatly, he would wait another 5 years before deciding to reach out to the Center.
Yeah, it's very similar to what we already covered, though.
I know Barney suffered with horrendous nightmares and insomnia. And let's face it, Barney Hill didn't live very long after that abduction incident, you know. He died young.
Well, how about this guy? These people, are they still alive?
I don't know, Paul.
73. So how old would they have been back then?
They would be teenagers, so they'd be in it. I don't know, they'd be in their late 60s, maybe early 70s, could well still be alive.
Was it 73 or was it 79? I'm not sure now.
Buffledge. Oh, no, it was 1968, Paul Buffledge.
Because it's talking about Hynek 73 here, so that's 5 years after. Oh, yeah, up here, 1968. Yeah. I should have looked further up. Yeah, I got mixed up with the last one we looked at. Yeah, it's really just summarising what we just read out, though. And that's,
for UFO studies, looking for some answers. Walter Webb, an astronomer for 32 years at the Charles Hayden Planetarium in Boston, was assigned to the case. Lapp's story intrigued Webb, and he suggested regressive hypnosis. Lapp agreed. Under hypnosis, Lapp vividly recalled what happened to him that August night back in '68. He recalled the beam of light, his last conscious memory before blacking out, lifting him into the interior of the craft. From there, he entered a larger craft where he observed Janet laying on a table being examined by some strange beings. They shined a light.
See, that sort of stuff was known by then, though, wasn't it? About the beam of lights lifting up people and tables.
By 1968, you mean?
Barney and Benny Hill was in the 60s.
1961, right? But they never mentioned anything about a beam of light. They were actually manhandled into the craft, as their story goes.
Sounds very similar to other abduction stories, you know, like Liquid.
But of course, remember now, the incident was in 1968. He didn't come forward until 1978. Was it 10 years later? So, yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to look at it from a really skeptical point of view, yes, he had time to gather information on abductions, but if he was smart enough, maybe concoct. Yeah, a grand deception. Having said that, is there any profit being made from this? I don't think so. Yeah. Let me just
light into her eyes, scraped her skin, and removed various fluids from her body. Lapp recalled that the beings all looked alike: large eyes, a mouth without lips, no ears, and 2 small openings for a nose. They had 3 pointed web-like.
I tell you what's more credible than Ronnie Dawson's encounter, anyway.
Okay.
Did you listen to it on UFO Buster? You had him on because he's doing video podcasts now. He's not just doing radio. And he was telling them that he was being transported by soul into another cloned body on a UFO and stuff like this, and he had an alien penis and stuff.
What?
Yeah, you have to go and listen to it. And I thought this Ronnie Dawson's more crazier than last time that I heard him. Oh, we've probably lost ads now saying that word. We did have ads up to now. Hadn't been detected and removed, but at the moment, let me just have a look. Have we still got ads? Yeah, it's still got ads. Well, I'll just watch it, see if it turns off. Yeah, go and check out UFO Busters' second podcast, video podcast. Here's like a panel of people on. I think they used Skype or something because it was really bad audio. Ronnie was using a smartphone, turned around portrait, not landscape, and his nose looks like 10 times bigger than it normally is, and he's got his eyes. It looks like his eyes are closed all the time. And obviously, he's out in the sun too much and not wearing sunglasses or something. But yeah, his story was way crazy. Like he was in the. He's got a wife. Apparently, he's got a wife, and his wife's there, but he's actually inside this alien spacecraft. His body's there, but he's actually seen inside. I don't know. It's a crazy story. You just have to go and listen to it. But this one seems a lot more credible story than his one, anyway.
Like digits for fingers, and their bodies felt damp and clammy. He recalled that the beings had told him they intended to make life like ours on other planets. They stressed to him a peaceful agenda.
I'll see if I can find it.
Cornell, now 29, had lost contact with Lapp over the years, but she was eventually tracked down by the investigators who asked her about the events at Buff Ledge. She soon agreed to undergo hypnosis. Her descriptions under hypnosis seemed to corroborate Lapp's, even though she was never given access to his testimony. She recalled feeling cold on an examining table with something pulling her hair and pinching her neck. Both Lapp and Cornell also underwent a battery of psychological and stress evaluation tests. In the intervening years, Webb managed to track down other attendees of Buff Ledge that had witnessed strange lights over Lake Champlain on the same night as Michael and Janet's abduction. Webb also uncovered something even more bizarre, a possible second abduction of two people at the same camp earlier in the summer. Similar to Janet and Michael, this account also involved a sighting of strange lights over the lake for about 20 minutes, followed by a possible abduction event. It seemed the more Webb investigated, the stranger the case seemed to get. He would go on to publish a book about the incident in 1994 titled Encounter at Buff Ledge, a UFO Case History.
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
I posted a link down the side there for this one here.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
UFO
right, I've just found there is a book. It's called Encounter at Buff Ledge. It's 1993, and who's the game? Walter Webb, I think Walter N. Webb is the publisher. And believe it or not, it's actually been published by J. Allen Hynek Center for UFO Studies.
Right.
So whether the witnesses got any proceeds from the book, I've really no idea. But if they did, it wouldn't have been much at all. And it seems, I'm just quickly skimming through now, it seems that most of the names mentioned in the book have been that been replaced with pseudonyms. Their identity's been protected. It's you can see here it's an out of print paperback. So I don't know if they had any proceeds from the book at all.
Yep. Need to have a drink, I think.
Yep. What I'm drinking.
I just got a sandwich. I think breadcrumb went down the wrong way.
Oh God.
Yeah. We got a link to go.
Yeah.
I think we finished with that, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, we have finished with that. Yeah. So let's have a look now at this Kentucky helicopter dogfight.
Cool.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
And we got the Kentucky woman. Kentucky woman Shelley with us.
Yeah, it's a good case. The trouble is there's maybe limited information to be found on it. But
yeah.
2 police officers, so interesting. Don't think they'd profit too much by spilling the beans. Oh wow.
Oh, what's going on there? Okay. Oh, what's this?
It's okay.
Let's look at a ticking program on top. Have a dogfight. Yeah, looks like it's got a few other things there that might get in the way.
You can read out the title and those bits there, you know.
Okay, well, I'll leave it to you while I eat a sandwich.
Yeah, well, you need to scroll up to the top so I can see what I'm reading, yeah?
Oh, you said you wanted to read top. That is the top. 2 police officers have a dogfight with UFO. Updated July 13th, 2016. And the date of the incident occurred February 27, 1993.
Nighttime strikes in Jefferson County, Kentucky.
Close to midnight.
Nothing fenced. Yeah.
C1, close encounter.
Mm-hmm.
Off the first
number
kind.
of objects 1, shape of object pear shape, number of witnesses multiple.
And
so they can go on to the summary in the full report now.
Well, there's not much of a thing to it, is there?
Nah, there's nothing more to be found, Paul.
Summary/description. 2 Jefferson County Air Unit police officers, described by their lieutenant as solid guys, swear they had a 2-minute dogfight with a UFO during a routine helicopter patrol Friday night. 2 officers on the ground said they, too, spotted the object. The UFO, a glowing pear-shaped object about the size of a basketball, literally flew circles around the helicopter, even though the flyers say they were moving at speeds approaching 100 miles per hour. Full report. Drawing by Louisville Courier-Journal staff artist Wes Kendall, showing the UFO encounter. Officer Kenny Downs, far right, was with pilot Kenny Graham, seated with him, when they saw the UFO. Credit, Louisville Courier-Journal. UFO puts on show Jefferson police officers describe close encounter. By Gardiner Harris staff writer. 2 Jefferson County Air Unit police officers, described by their lieutenant as solid guys, swear they had a 2-minute dogfight with a UFO during a routine helicopter patrol Friday night. 2 officers on the ground said they, too, spotted the object. The UFO, a glowing pear-shaped object about the size of a basketball, literally flew circles around the helicopter, even though the flyers say they were moving at speeds approaching 100 miles per hour. In one blinding moment, when both craft were hurtling toward each other, the UFO shot 3 baseball-sized fireballs out of its middle, all 3 officers said. The fireballs fizzled into nothing. Officers Kenny Graham and Kenny Downs haven't talked much about their Friday night flight over General Electric Appliance Park, because they fear few will believe them. But they are convinced they weren't hallucinating. We both go to church every week, Downs said as a way of explaining how normal the 2 normally are. In fact, I might start going to church twice a week. Officer Mike Smith, in his squad car below, said he saw the object for only about a minute. But he confirmed the UFO shot 3 fireballs into the air, and then disappeared. Officer Joe Smolensky said he tried for more than a minute to catch up to the object in his squad car. I've been looking for M for 14 years, and I guess this is the closest I've come to something I couldn't explain. Lieutenant David Pope, who was roused out of bed at 12:30 Saturday morning by a call from the startled officers, attested to their sanity and sincerity. These guys are totally solid guys, Pope said. There's no doubt in my mind there was something out there. The night started out like every other night. Graham and Downs got to work around 6 p.m., and were soon in the air flying a routine patrol. Graham, 39 and an 11-year veteran, was the pilot. Downs, 39 and a 5-year veteran, was the spotter. While in the air, they received a call about a possible break-in near Sanford Avenue and Buccal Bank Road. They flew off and quickly reached the area, which is near the northeast corner of Appliance Park, around 11:50 p.m. As they circled, Graham saw something that looked like a small fire off to his left. Dozens of bonfires had been lit around the county that night by revelers delighting in the new snowfall. But Graham soon decided I wasn't a fire. Downs shined his 1.3 million candle power spotlight on the object, which began to drift back and forth like a balloon as the light washed over it. Then it gradually floated up to the helicopter's elevation about 500 feet above the ground, where it hovered for a few seconds. Then it took off at a speed I've never seen before, said Graham, an experienced pilot. The object made 2 huge counterclockwise loops and finally approached the helicopter's rear. Graham, afraid the object would ram his tail rotor, pushed his speak above 100 miles per hour. The UFO shot past them and instantly climbed hundreds of feet in the air. It descended again and flew close to the helicopter. Graham tried to close the gap with the object, and it again flew away. As the UFO approached on a parallel course, the 3 fireballs burst out of its core. Scared, Graham banked away from the object. When we came back around, it was gone, Graham said. When the 2 returned to their base, Graham called the control tower at Standiford Field to ask if their radar had spotted anything unusual. It had not.
I've got an error on the screen.
Downs called the county's radio dispatchers to ask if anyone else had reported sightings.
See if that fixes it.
No one had. But the 2 did get confirmation from 2 officers on the ground, one of whom was Smith. I have no idea what it was, Smith said, but his confirmation cheered the 2 flyers.
That must be my end.
It makes me feel better, Downs said, that there are grown men out there who are sworn to protect this community, and who saw the same thing.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. God, I really wish there was more on this.
Kind of rings a bell, though, this case. Did I see
I tell you, the one you're thinking of is the Coyne helicopter incident. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. It's spelled Coyne. I'm not sure if it's Coyne or Coyne. But yeah, that was a startling incident where the helicopter was lifted several hundred feet, wasn't it? Even when they were actually trying to dive at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was bathed in the cockpit was bathed in a green light, wasn't it? And that green light was seen on the ground so that really was multiple witnesses. Mm-hmm. I think the only witnesses to this case that I really tried to make more of this case and find some more stuff, but I just couldn't find anything. Only the same thing repeated on other websites, and there's also no interviews with the police officers either. Yeah, I don't know who investigated this case, if anyone.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it on TV show, this one.
Maybe so.
Last year.
Okay.
Was it unidentified? Did they bring it up? I think it might have been on there.
Oh no! No. That was an Italian case, Paul. That's when the rotor blade was broken, wasn't it? And
I'm pretty sure it's an American case, a similar incident.
No, that's the only helicopter case that's come up on unidentified. Was that Italian case, which was just a load of nonsense to me, because that damage to the rear rotor blade that was easily covered by a bird strike, which most people think it was. So
it might have been that show that Dolan was on.
Could well have been.
I can't remember the name of it. Well, I'm pretty sure I've seen it last year, the story.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't too much on it, like you said, even on the show.
Yeah.
But they did interview the guys, and that was quite an interesting interview. I can't remember.
They did interview the guys. Well, I couldn't find that anywhere. I'm not sure if it's the same one. Yeah, I'll just pass you this link here because there's an illustration on this link that we didn't have in the first one. It's actually a drawing that's been made by the officers or on the officers' behalf.
There's a BS being spouted around. What's going on, Susan? It was said to be a hot air balloon. Is that the BS? I'm not sure if a hot air balloon can shoot out balls of plasma. Or spin around a helicopter. Was it circling a helicopter, did they say? At 100 miles an hour, was that the one?
Yes, yeah. The helicopter was travelling at 100 miles per hour, and the objects were just running rings, circling around it.
Kentucky. Alright, here we go. I've got some pictures. Egg UFO.
What's Shelley saying there? The newspaper, the Courier Journal. It seems trying to cover it, saying a hot air balloon was tangled up. I don't
tangled
know.
Up in what though?
Yeah,
tangled up in the helicopter rotors, or
yeah. Oh God, they'd soon know if that had happened. Jesus, man. Yeah, okay, but that doesn't sound logical to me.
And why would it shoot plasmas that didn't do anything? You know, it didn't disable the helicopter, or did that miss?
No, but well, you don't know for a fact it didn't do anything. Just because it didn't affect the helicopter, you don't know what that might have achieved from, dare I say it, an alien perspective.
They might have missing time that they don't know about. So you want me to read out from top here, is it?
I think they would have. No, just have a quick look at the description there, the sketch. There's nothing. You see, this is another website where they're just exactly the same information, only less of it.
But at least a sketch.
Yeah, at least the sketch.
Who drew the sketch, does it say? It's a pretty good little drawing.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Have you tried to search on that keyword there?
Which keyword is that?
You'll see.
Sorry, I'm in between tabs here. I can't see everything that's going on.
Oh, yeah. National Geographic. Please confirm UFO sighting. It looks like it's so it might have been on there. It might have been on that TV show.
Yeah, okay.
The
Kentucky event was
channel.
1993,
so that might have been where I saw it then, National Geographic. Shame we can't play it though.
National Geographic is meant to be cover
My name
UFO
is
stuff.
Melvin Knoll, and I'm a part-time truck driver, and I own this miniature golf course, and also...
Is this a joke, or what? Humpty Dumpty there. Oh, right, it's part of the miniature golf thing.
Jesus.
Let's see, we could probably put on Patron, golf course, carry on. Morning happened, looked into the sky, northwest. Very bright light up there. Doesn't look like a helicopter pilot, but maybe he witnessed it.
Well, no, he says a truck driver. Sure, it's the same incident, Paul.
That's what came up in the search. Maybe they included Kentucky one. I'm not sure why it came up in the search. Still, it sounds like a case to look over. No wings, just floating right there mid-air. Let's see where it goes to. Tell nobody else seen something. Libyan. It doesn't look like the same thing, does it? Officer recorded to a phone call. This sounds like something we've done in the past, this one. Can't think of the... About the cops, wasn't it? That's the cops. So didn't we do it a couple of weeks ago, this one?
I'm not familiar. Don't even know what the incident's called, Paul.
That sounds like the same one in Libyan, America. I think that's
Silo.
2 cops. Was it the Triangle Craft? Move slowly. Yeah, football size, remember? It was a couple of stories high. I think we did it a couple of weeks ago.
Well, I mean, I don't even know the location or anything here, Paul.
There's the location on the screen there.
Where?
Can't you read where my mouse is?
Lebanon, over Milstead, over Jura.
Let's see, detective name. Lopino. I'm sure it's the same one we covered a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, Illinois. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be.
Pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
But we didn't find.
Well, we didn't actually find. It's not the helicopter incident, anyway, is it?
No. I thought maybe it was going to be a witness to it, but it's not.
No.
Someone on the ground seeing the helicopter being circled. What else we got? Blog spots. Let's look at that one.
Yeah.
That's the one you already posted.
Yeah, exactly. Paul, there's nothing more to be found on this case. I've had all week to find something, and there just isn't anything.
It's pretty small too. The object that was firing the things, wasn't it? Circling the UFO.
Well, yeah, it's relatively small,
which is really weird. It's not a normal UFO case in that case. Normally it's like 20 to 100 feet wide. Normally most of the reports, not a couple feet long or whatever. Kentucky Real X-Files. What's that one? Oh, that could be it. Let's have a look at that one. Probably be the same stuff again.
Okay, Paul, this is going nowhere now.
No.
This is a compilation of sightings. I found that website as well.
Okay.
We've got another case anyway, so we might as well rather than mess about with that.
There's a newspaper thing here with the helicopter. 2 cops survive most amazing encounter 93. Who did that weekly?
Oops.
Now there's another picture of that strange little UFO.
Yeah.
Let's just have a quick look at that one.
Yeah, I'll just pop to the toilet.
Yeah. It's similar to that last article, but it's got a lot more pictures. Is there anything new here that's not in the other one, though? A bit about the fireballs being shot out from the main object being molten plastic. Eh? What does it mean? I don't know. Sounds a bit suspicious. Eh? What word's that? Suspicious? But on the other hand, the idea of a baseball-sized UFO sounds pretty unlikely as well. Suspicious. Is it a misspelling there, or is it a word I'm not familiar with? What options we got? Yeah, it looks like it is a word. Superficially plausible. Okay, misleading in appearance. Sounds like suspicious. Okay. So that's what the skeptic is saying, is it? What's he saying here? Interested to say least, I'd be curious to know what the cops themselves thought of the revelation, and if they still stuck to their story. The original report claimed the object literally flew circles around the helicopter, even though the flyers say they were moving at speeds 100 miles per hour, and that doesn't sound... That doesn't really sound constant with balloon behavior.
No, it's not though, is it? It's
The bit about the fireballs being shot out from the main object being melted plastic. Where's the melted plastic story? That doesn't make any sense. Where's it talking about melted plastic? The real story came out a few days later when a guy stepped forward and told how we were showing his wife how to make miniature homemade hot air balloons, i.e. Chinese lanterns. Apparently he had made these in the Boy Scouts as a child and thought it would be fun to make another. He launched the balloon about the same time a police helicopter was near. As the chopper approached the balloon, the wind from the rotors would push the balloon away. The fireballs were supposedly melted in plastic. Oh. And now it's starting to make sense what they mean.
That's a lame.
Is it though? Because it would be the right size for a Chinese lantern because they are quite big.
Yeah, hold on a minute. I'm just thinking now. How does a balloon circle a helicopter?
And they're saying it's getting caught up in the wash of the rotor, so it's circling there, and because it's tilting, it's releasing the oil in the canister at the bottom and shooting like a plasma fireball. That kind of makes sense when you think about it. It's very plausible actually now you think about it. So you got fire balloon, as they used to call them, which is similar to Chinese lanterns. Let's see if it'll come up. So here you go. Here's fire Chinese lanterns. They're quite the right size for that sighting.
I would imagine the wash from the rotor blade to just destroy a balloon, especially anything like a Chinese lantern.
But it was a homemade one. It may not be what we've seen in the pictures here. It may have somehow he made a different container to contain the oil. Maybe as it was spinning and bending, making a pear shape, because it is a pear shape. They were spitting out the oil. But I would have thought maybe the oil would go the opposite direction though. Because if it's tilted that way, the fireballs would go away from the wash of the helicopter and shoot away from the helicopter, not towards the helicopter, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but it's not going to hold it in a circle. I just can't see that.
And the only way would be to try and replicate it with a helicopter, I think, or at least scale it down for like one of those big RC helicopters and see what would happen. But yeah, it's plausible. But yeah, I don't know.
Ooh, it's a hell of a long shot, but yeah, the only it'd be fantastic if someone on the ground had seen it, but it doesn't seem to be that way, does it? Or no one at least has come forward.
So you can see some of these are quite big, some of these fire balloons. That one's bigger than normal.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't think no kid would have been making that, would he?
Was it a kid or was it a man? I thought it was a man, they were saying. A guy. So we don't know what his age was.
He was showing his wife how to make miniature, homemade hot air balloons. In effect, Chinese lanterns.
I
So
reckon
that
it's
great big thing you were
more like
looking
this
at
one
there,
here.
that question, yeah.
Miniature
Jesus,
hot
that's
air balloon.
huge.
That one is huge, but it's possible, you know.
I think if anything, it was like anything like a Chinese lantern. If it went anywhere near those rotor blades, you can kiss goodbye to it. It's not going to keep it in a circle around the helicopter.
I don't know. And they're pretty light. They're like made of like rice paper.
But, I think put it this way, Paul. I think aliens are more likely than that answer.
I wouldn't write it off. I'd have to see experiment done.
Exactly.
See which way the fireballs go. Was it towards them going, or was it away from? Where's it talk about it going? Dogfight. Okay, I need to go back to the original one. Where is it going? Glowing pear-shaped object. It does fit a fire balloon. 3 circles around the helicopter, even though the flyers were moving 100 miles an hour. So would it get caught in the wash and still follow them at 100 miles an hour? Somehow that sort of puts a hole in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I think you'd have to do experiments to see what happened. Fact or fake paranormal investigation. Duplicate it for us, please. So where was it firing out the thing? Which way was it heading? Here we go. Just saw it then. 3 fireballs in the air and then disappeared. Because that would happen if it was like oil that's on fire. And it will create like a fireball, you know, look like miniature thing. But which way was the fireballs going? It doesn't actually say here. It doesn't say it was heading towards them. So it's possible, you know. I wouldn't write it off.
Oh, so the fire and the fireballs with the melting plastic. Oh,
I'd have to see an experiment done.
No, that's just yeah, of course, but that's a long shot for me. I'm not saying there was anything, you know, alien either. I just don't buy that particular explanation.
You are a believer.
I don't like that word.
Okay, so we must be coming up to the 3 hours. All right, 3 hours, 2 minutes. So what else did you want to talk about? Anything else?
Do you want to do one last case? If anyone's interested, how many we got? 12 viewers. So hell, we'll do one more. Yeah.
If you want.
Yeah.
It's not 100 viewers though.
What do you mean? 100 viewers?
Well, still not that many viewers for the time you're spending on it. But anyway.
I see. Right. I thought you said 100 years then.
100 viewers. Oh yeah, we did lose ads. What keyword was it? Was it the P word? Was it?
Well, it's nothing to do with me tonight. Okay.
Yeah, I must have detected what I said with the body part. Damn you, UFO Buster, talking about your show. Gonna have to request it after. No biggie anyway. Don't make more than 20 cents episode on ad money anyway. In fact, we ain't had any donations for a
while. Stop hinting.
I thought they'd love your stories and they'll send them money. Yeah, so what do we got? 1976. It means I got to modify the
space. Yeah.
It means I got to modify the description now. After the show, I have to remember what it's called.
The 1976 Cannon Air Force Base UFO Encounters. First published May 17, 2019. Last updated July 17, 2020. Written by Marcus Loth. Estimated reading time 9 minutes. Posted in UFOs Sightings.
9 minutes.
One comment. Over a 2-night period in January 1976, a student journalist, Bruce, alone on the first night, and with multiple witnesses on the second, would witness several mysterious objects over Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico, as well as a cat and mouse chase courtesy of military jets scrambled to pursue these strange and seemingly trespassing crafts. What's more, after finally publicly disclosing these incidents, Bruce would receive very concerning warnings, both from ominous strangers on the phone and concerned neighbors who witnessed strange events around his home when he wasn't there. It is a case, like several others that have come back to the forefront of UFO research thanks to the medium of the internet. And one that just might prove to be another important piece of the puzzle that we all seek to see complete. Just what happened on those January evenings in 1976? And why did the events remain of such concern to the United States government for decades after?
Okay, gotta get past the table of contents here.
Okay.
Do you want to say anything so far?
No, keep going. Oh, did you miss anything there?
Yep, it went a bit crazy. Apparently we got 2 dislikes so far.
Oh, what a shame.
Haters will be haters.
Well, you're doing too much there, Paul, I think.
Probably. It goes on a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's okay.
Let me just select it all anyway.
Yeah.
There we go. That'll do. Disclaimer. Oh. Looks like Snipes has sent us £3.
Yeah.
Thank you, Snipes.
Thank you, Wes.
What did he say? Great string, Rob and Paul. You're doing great work. There you go.
Thanking you.
Yeah, I wasn't really hinting for donations. I was just saying that we hadn't had any for a wee while. But yeah, thanks anyway. Every little dollar helps in the end. Read aloud.
Light bulbs on a string hanging over Clovis, New Mexico. Late on the evening of January 21, 1976, Bruce sat in his truck on the outskirts of Clovis, New Mexico, near to the transmitter of the KMTY FM 99.1 radio station, for whom he worked part-time to help fund his way through college in order to pursue a career in journalism. He wasn't supposed to work this evening, and was called in last minute, as the station wished to perform tests on the transmitter. They required someone to be at the location, and needing the money as always, Bruce agreed to the extra work. Needless to say, it was a night he would not forget. As a journalist, he was surely thankful for the fact he was placed in exactly the right location to witness the upcoming events. It was as he was sitting in his truck looking out on the odd patches of light dotted around below, including those of Cannon Air Force Base, when he noticed 3 strange lights in the sky. The way they appeared would lead him to later describe them as like light bulbs on a string. Then, 2 of the lights dropped quickly to the ground, seemingly stopping before collision and hovering. The 3rd light remained stationary above. Due to his duty as a storm spotter, Bruce always carried around his storm spotter's kit, which included a pair of binoculars. As he sat watching these strange hovering lights, he reached for them and placed them to his eyes to observe the 2 lower objects. An incident with classic saucer-shaped crafts. Amazed at what he was seeing, Bruce took in as much detail as possible. Once magnified, these lights had a classic saucer shape to them. Each had a bluish glow around them, although the underside sent a red radiant glow downwards.
Mm.
Also clear was the distinct dome shape on the top of each craft.
Now, why
He
can't we
kept
get
the
video
binoculars
of something
trained
like
on the
that?
two craft. After several minutes they began to move off, slowing, and in perfect parallel unison to each other. He would follow them for around 15 minutes in total, as they moved calmly over the largely unsuspecting citizens below. Perhaps one of the most bizarre details he would later offer is of witnessing the lights of the buildings and streets below dimming significantly as the crafts traveled over them. This would fit in with many other reports of apparent surges of electrical energy in relation to UFO activity. Furthermore, after calling his employers back at the station to report exactly what he had witnessed, he would learn that many residents had also witnessed the strange crafts that evening. Further still, several of those witnesses were active serving state police officers. While Bruce was there that evening as an employee of the radio station, and hence hadn't brought his camera with him, the following evening he would return. And what's more, he would bring several members of the newsroom, where he was gaining work experience with him. Return sighting from the rooftops. Using various contacts on the college campus on which he lived, Bruce would manage to obtain keys to the roof of one of the college dorms. From there, he and several other journalists and photographers would sit and wait in hopes of a repeat performance.
Sounds
They
like a
wouldn't
good
be
place to be.
disappointed. At 15 minutes before 1 a.m., the strange glowing objects again appeared in the night sky over Clovis. This time, 4 of them. Bruce, not wanting to let the moment escape him again, managed to capture a clear picture of the objects.
Have we got a picture of it?
On this evening, though,
Yeah,
rather than
exactly.
merely hover, they were darting around. It was as the small group on the dormitory roof watched these dancing lights in awe that they heard the roar,
Gonna have to find
and then
it
saw
now.
the form of several F-111 military jets launched from Cannon Air Force Base. It was clear their mission was to intercept, and they would head straight for the 4 glowing
That's not the
crafts.
picture.
However, each
No,
time one
no.
of the jets would get in the immediate vicinity of the crafts, they would shoot to another part of the sky at breakneck speeding. The jets were, by comparison, clunky and lumbering, and were seemingly no match for these apparently advanced objects. As the objects made these sharp and extremely precise turns, a strange plasma-type glow was briefly visible in the sky. From the tallest building on campus, the small group would watch the desperate attempts of the F-111 jets with an almost unrestricted
Damn, we
view.
need some video of something like this.
Everyone was freaking out at Cannon Air Force Base. It was around 45 minutes later
So
at a
whereabouts is this Cannon Air Force Base? And where's the damn photograph? So
Yeah.
let's see if we can find
Cannon
it.
Air Force Base is New Mexico, Paul, and there's an awful lot of stuff that goes on in New Mexico.
New Mexico.
Yeah.
And there it is.
Yeah. Another thing now, this Bruce, our witness, which I don't think it mentioned, is not military personnel, by the way. He's a journalist. So, because he would have had a camera on hand, wouldn't he, you'd imagine?
What's these round things? Is it irrigation ponds? Or fish farms or something? They're all around the Air Force Base. Look, they're everywhere. Circles, circles, circles. There's a lot of water ponds of its water ponds. Goes for miles, look. New Mexico. You got any idea what they are?
Let me have a look. Let's have a look. Ooh.
Is it like a field cut in a circle pattern everywhere? Is it how they cut corn or something? I don't know. It looks like it's got a triangle or something going through this one. Talk about getting sidetracked again. What is it though? I don't know. I wonder if we've got a street view. Let's see. We've got a road here. Can we get there? How about that one? That one? I don't think it's going to drop, is it? It won't let us go there. Ah, here we go. So where are we? Was that the circle? It's not where I wanted to go though. Whereabouts am I? I'm already lost. Whereabouts
Yeah,
did it
exactly.
drop?
You've lost me too.
All
Okay.
these circles, what are they all though? Can we drop there this time? As we get closer to the S4 base, we can't drop, looks of it. Okay, there. Doesn't allow us near the Air Force Base. So there should be circles all around here. And I can't see them. We're too low down. Shame we haven't got drone mode where you can sort of just lift up a wee bit. Maybe it's paddocks. It's the way they cut it, maybe. Is it the way they harvest corn in America? Can't quite see anything at this level. Not to the overhead, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where you were, Paul. Were you on the Air Force Base itself?
No, it won't allow us to drop near it for some reason.
Oh, well, we're wasting our time then, aren't we? Probably cornfields.
I don't know. I don't know what these are. But they're all around the Air Force Base anyway. So they go for a long way.
Charles has just said it, cornfields.
Well, is he a farming expert?
I don't know, but I thought you were on the base. Good God, man.
I can't drop on the base. Elliot.
Well, if we can't drop on the base, Paul, then it's move on.
Oh well, it is the end of the night. Okay.
Yeah.
Cannon Air Force Base. It was around 45 minutes later, at around 1:30 a.m., when events ended. The objects, after leading the jets all around the night sky, suddenly shot up and were gone in a second. The jets returned to base, their pilots undoubtedly awash, with a mixture of bewilderment and frustration. One of the witnesses, using his powerful telescope, had a clear view of the base, and specifically, the flight line of the runway. He would report that when he followed the objects as they swooped down to the runway, all of the lights would go out, much like Bruce recalled the lights of the town dimming the previous evening as the strange crafts passed over them. Interestingly, using his many contacts based at Cannon Air Force Base, he would regularly take requests for music on air at the radio station. When working as a disc jockey, Bruce would discover that the entire base suffered a complete power outage during part of the incident. Furthermore, according to Bruce's contacts, everyone at the base, including superior officers, were freaking out due to the sudden appearance of these strange objects. This, as well as the scrambling of the jets, would suggest that whoever, or whatever, was behind these crafts, the United States military, at least those at Cannon Air Force Base, were not privy to their plans or reasons. The contact would also reveal more to Bruce, on the condition that he not reveal where the information came from. He would claim a new, bright lighting system was immediately being put in place. It appeared within days of the incident, and even more intriguing, the base had quietly recorded radar confirmation of activity from both night.
Oh, I don't know. Why on earth would anybody get in touch with this journalist and start telling him inside stuff? So what happened to the photograph as well? Because I can't find it anywhere. I'm just trying to search now.
Well, I haven't searched yet.
Is he the only witness? Seems to be at this stage.
Well, they were sitting on top of a flat roof on a high rise, watching the skies.
Has anyone else come forward?
Other students seeing it.
Students?
Wasn't it a college?
An Air Force Base.
I thought it was a college that they were sitting on top of.
Cannon Air Force Base, Paul.
Um,
I don't think you're going to have a students' facility in the middle of an Air Force Base.
I thought it was a college next to the Air Force Base. Reticence had witnessed the sight strange. Where's it talking about the chairs? Whereabouts was the chairs? Well, Bruce, the employee of a radio station, brought camera with him.
Hadn't.
To the newsroom. So, was it on top of the rooftop? Here we go. Using various contacts on the college campus, which he lived, Bruce would manage to obtain keys to the roof of one of the college dorms. So I didn't misread it. So it's you, Robert, having a go at me.
So this hasn't been taken from the Air Force Base, then?
No. So,
don't know.
Where's the college campus?
Yeah, that's
in this lot?
Oh, yeah. I don't suppose you're going to find it now because this is 1976, isn't it?
You can see it's a lot of farmland there. What are they doing? But campus, maybe we can find it to campus. See what comes up. Campus. What do we got? Anything popping up? Nope. It helps if I type it in right. Anything there?
Don't think so.
Let's see, what other clues do we have? I should have left it there before, shouldn't I? Rooftop. Where is it now? It's frustrating. Oh, here we go. I'm talking about a newsroom as well, so I'm not too sure. Journalists, you see. College campus. Or maybe type in college, maybe. There must be a college nearby in that case.
Yeah, but it might not be there now.
Come on.
This is 44 years on.
Let's see. Anything popping up?
No. No.
That's just annoying. Oh, here we go. Collin College. Oh, well, let's see. We've got a few to choose from here. Campus de Samanagalias. And this one here. Let's choose that one. Let's see where that one goes. See how far away it is. Alright, so fair distance then. So that sort of gives us an idea. 7 hours drive from the Air Force Base.
Yeah, that won't be it.
That sounds like too far away, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To college. Let's try the other one. If it come up. No, it's not coming up. On the next one. Had that strange name, Sam something rather, wasn't it? I can't remember. Let's see, go back to this one. Won't delete for some reason. Okay. Making a right mess of it. Okay,
yeah, but let's just get on with it.
Oh, well. I'm not sure what happened there. Totally screwed up in the end. Oh well. The other one might have been closer, or it might have been south of it, because it sounded like it was heading towards the border there. What do you want to get on with the rest of the story? Okay.
Both night in question. A most ominous turn decades later. Although the U.S. military would make no admission of any such radar recordings, or indeed of anything untoward taking place, Freedom of Information Acts would eventually reveal that F-111 jets were indeed scrambled from the base on the evening of January 22, early hours 23, 1976. The reason for this scrambling, however, remains elusive. It is, however, perhaps the incidents that would unfold almost 30 years later when Bruce would finally make the decision to go public with his account. He would do so on the Jeff Rent's radio show on July 16, 2004, during which he would also reveal to the public of the photograph in his possession that he took on the second night's sighting. 4 days later, at 1:30 a.m., he would receive a telephone call from an unknown person. What made the call from this mystery person all the more concerning, even before he had said a word, was that it came on his private cell phone. One that is not listed, and that only a limited number of people have the number to. In fact, when he first went to pick up the phone, which had awoken he and his wife from sleep, his first thought was that it was from one of their grown-up children, and that something was wrong. However, after picking up the receiver, the voice at the other end asking for confirmation that this was he, was not a familiar one. The mystery man claimed he wished to meet with him about a matter of utmost urgency regarding the photographs he claimed to have in his possession of the Cannon Air Force incident.
No, here we go. They've
For
been
the sake of your
confiscated,
family.
haven't they?
It was then that Bruce believed the call to be some kind of joke. To this, the mystery man advised, "It would be in your best interest to discontinue this line of discussion, and do away with those photographs. Destroy them." When Bruce went to look at the caller display to see who exactly was calling, it simply announced number not available. Before he could speak, the mystery man issued another warning. "This is no joke. We feel that this would be in your best interest, and for the sake of your family, that all of this go away." Attempting to remain calm and in control of the conversation, Bruce again asked for the man's identity. In response to this, the caller would begin speaking of the careers and daily routines of the couple's children, as well as those of his wife. He would even claim he could fax him his entire history in a few seconds.
That sounds like
it was at this point that Bruce slammed the phone down.
Excuse,
For several weeks, things remained quiet. So much so, that Bruce almost began to put the incident to the back of his mind. However, one afternoon a neighbor would inform him of strange activity around his property when he and his wife and left for the day. Strange cars would pull up immediately outside their home and simply sit there. Sometimes, equally strange men would get out of these cars and proceed to snoop around the property. Incidentally, the neighbor would warn Bruce that these mysterious vehicles all possessed U.S. government plates. Renewed interest in further witnesses. In the summer of 2006, stories began to surface regarding UFO researcher Brian Vike, who had investigated Bruce's report.
See, the problem back in those days, they didn't have the internet. So back in those days, if you just released all your photographs to the internet, there's no way they can threaten you or suppress you as long as you get it out straight away. Right? Once it's on the net, it never forgets. It spreads. So, yeah. So all these good sightings, why would the Air Force be threatening someone to remove it unless it was like a special Black Ops experiment where they're getting some fighters to chase it or whatever? Or it could be a UFO. Either way, it still doesn't say it's alien craft, does it? This is the whole problem. This is what's so frustrating about the UFO field. Is it ours, or is it someone else's, or is it aliens?
Reports above and had spoken to Bruce at length, claimed to have the aforementioned photograph in his possession.
Yeah, we want to see that photograph.
What's more, he planned to publish it, along with others in the region, on his website.
Ah, right.
Incidentally, it would appear these photographs are simply not available online, either at Vike's website, or on others that have carried interviews with him. By all accounts, although grainy, he did manage to capture one of them clearly on film.
Yeah, right.
Brian Vike. Was there really an effort to suppress these pictures? Vike himself would withdraw from public life somewhat due to ill health shortly after the reports of the pictures being in his possession. More in-depth information would enter the public arena as a result of his investigations, however. For example, a journalist with the Clovis News-Journal claims to have witnessed 23 UFOs sliding in and out of complex formations the night after the second sighting.
That's interesting.
Further still, a discovery of a bizarre circle burned into the ground on a New Mexico ranch would surface in the days that followed.
Oh no, don't talk about circles.
Even more intriguing, a cylindrical object of unknown origin was also recovered from the grounds of the ranch. Another report around 6 months following the incident over Cannon Air Force Base would also come to light around the same time. Another multi-night incident in July 1976. While there is no way to establish its authenticity, an anonymous witness would also report to Vike that, while working as a member of the security police at Cannon Air Force Base in July 1976, he witnessed very similar hovering lights one evening while on patrol. They would bring the car to a stop on the base roadside and watch the object more closely. They would later describe these crafts as having a blue glow on top which changed to white in the middle. On the underside came a green light. They would check with the control tower to see if there was any of the base's aircraft in the area. There wasn't. When Clovis police contacted the base, though, to report a sighting of the same objects, and to inquire of possible aircraft activity, the two security guards knew what they were seeing was very real. 2 further patrol cars arrived, with one of them attempting to get closer to the hovering craft. When it did so, however, the object vanished. The witness would state, "It did not fly away. It just disappeared." This is an interesting detail. Many UFO reports speak of the object, or light, vanishing as if someone switched off a light bulb. Such witnesses usually go to great pains to stress that the craft didn't fly into the distance. It would, though, return the following evening amid events that would prove even stranger. A perfect circle of lights over the base. It was around 2 a.m. when the witness awoke the following night, amid a commotion taking over the barracks. After quickly dressing, he ran outside to witness 12 glowing crafts in the sky above.
There's a lot of land there.
Furthermore, these objects were in a perfect circle directly over the base.
Don't happen in the States.
He would stress in his report to Vike. Each one was the exact same distance from the other, so I knew that this could not be by accident. Once more, with almost the entire base witnessing the events, the lights would go off as if someone had turned off the power to them one after the other in turn.
Hey, JD still
The following evening, he was unable to sleep after 2 nights of witnessing such mind-bending incidents.
Good night, Charles. We're
The
finishing
witness,
up now
instead,
anyway.
would walk around the barracks.
Yeah.
As he did so, he noticed one of the strange lights appear overhead. Then another. And another. In only moments, the 12 lights in their circular formation were back over the base. He turned and ran to inform a superior. However, before he could do so, he witnessed the squads in the courtyards. Some watched the skies attentively, while others were setting up cameras and filming equipment. Once more the lights switched off one by one. They would not appear again after that. And the film's location, if indeed it does exist, remains a mystery. It's certainly an account to keep at the back of our minds when researching the events from 6 months previously. Or indeed, any other similar incidents. The video below is a documentary looking at the UFO phenomena. It is from 1976, a little after the sightings in question. And so perhaps helps us understand the mindset of citizens and their attitudes to UFO sightings at the time.
So, quite a few
That's
for
that.
1976.
Oh, folks.
That's all, folks.
But,
yeah, show me about the photograph.
I'm not sure about, that casts a lot of doubt on the whole thing for me,
Because we haven't done our... is it popping up? Varma's Factometer Index.
Yeah, the Factometer Index, yeah. Okay, the first case, anyway. I thought the Tenerife mass sighting was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus there was some documents on that as well, wasn't there? So I'd go the best of the way to follow there. Maybe 3.8 sheep. And I can't remember what we did next.
I know, I can't.
We went on to the triangle case, the triangular UFO cases then, a compilation. So we can't date them because it's a compilation. And then it went on to the one by Kew Gardens in England, and I thought that was an excellent case. I'd go 4.8 on that one. That's well up there. Bluff Ledge, not sure on that one. Just two witnesses, and it's an abduction case. I wouldn't like to say that wasn't, that wasn't a genuine event, but because it's kind of inconclusive, maybe 3.5. The Kentucky one, just not enough evidence to suggest it's going to be that high.
Well, we could say it was possibly a real object, even if it was a fire balloon. So the facts of what they were seeing, even if it turns out to be something mundane, would still be up there with the cops' sighting of it, at least a 4, wouldn't it? So, I mean, it's really credible. Whether it's alien is another story. So it can't quite get to 5 and beyond.
No. As for this last one, I don't like it too much at all.
Yeah, that picture going missing or not ever being published is a bit suspect.
And a 30-year gap between him reporting it. Now, I can understand that if it was a traumatic type of incident, as in an abduction type incident, which you're not very likely to come clean about.
Plus, you'd have recordings of the people that were with you to back up your story, wouldn't you? You'd have something extra.
There's absolutely, even though he said it was multi-witness, as far as we know, it's only one witness.
Yeah. Although they did say jets were scrambled.
On that particular night, yes.
I think maybe a solid 3 for that one. That sounds like something happened, but whether it was UFOs is another thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go a bit lower than that. I'm going to go 2.5 in that case. I didn't like it much at all.
All right. And the first one was James Oberg, the bunk one, wasn't it? You gave it a 4.5, was it?
No, I gave it a 4. Thereabouts, 3.8. Oh, yeah.
So what's
just
the people
because
on the side?
Sheer number of witnesses, plus the fact that it was there was military documentation as well. Anyway, there was some interesting cases, especially my favourite was definitely the triangular case, though. Considering the MOD had still kept all the files on it as well.
And don't forget about James Fox. We'll just plug his one into you. There it goes.
Yeah.
Look behind, James. They're going to take your movie. Funny, guys. I thought it was funny. Yeah. He actually liked that emanation. Actually, no one else did. He always misses out on the aliens on his on those. You remember the TV shows? Someone would talk about something being filmed, but you never ever capture it. You know, you always miss out on something just as it was happening. I'll give him persistence. He is definitely eager on the UFO stuff, but whether it's for the topic itself or making $1 million so he can sort of keep on making movies and living a nice lifestyle.
I don't care if he makes money if he gets the truth out, you know? I mean, if it's not, if he's putting out disingenuous stuff, then it's going to get found out.
Yeah.
So
I
far,
know. I think I find him a wee bit too open. He's the stuff he comes up with. He just accepts everything as UFO. I found on the interviews with Josh Gates and stuff.
Yeah, but that's okay as long as he's not using dodgy witnesses, you know. And I don't certainly in Out of the Blue, and I know what I saw. They were quality documentaries. I mean, he wasn't like Stephen Greer using really dodgy people like that Boydman and Corso. So yeah, so he's produced quality so far, and the people have had the sneak preview of Phenomenon. So it was excellent, absolutely best yet. But how much of that we'll get to see now after this recent controversy? So we'll have to keep up on that one, no doubt. We'll hear a bit more in the coming weeks.
Although it's a good way to counteract the disappointment from people, right? Create a story where, say, you lost control of it and stuff got cut out of it when it's not actually true, and release the movie and see how the people react to it. You know, who knows?
I don't know. It wouldn't. I very much doubt that, and it wouldn't be the first time, that a documentary, someone's pulled a plug on a documentary of that type.
Sure enough. Yes. So Shelley's put out a link there for Discord. Come and join our UFO group. Post videos or stuff that you want us to look at on the show.
Yes, absolutely.
Whether you want it on my debunk Saturdays, I shouldn't really call it debunk. My video analysis days I do, or a story to cover.
Yeah, and if anybody wants a particular case that they want looking at, even if we've maybe done it in the past, if it wasn't too much in the recent past, we can look at it again. And I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah. I think we've had trouble-free day, actually. No technical problems so far. No. And the CPU's been settled down quite a lot. So maybe those extra things I did in the week has made it better. It's definitely to do with Windows anyway, trying to do updates. But anyway, we're going to wrap up now. I'm just going to put the
okay. Bye, Susan. Bye, Shelley, JD80. Charles is gone. Everybody. Ken, I don't know if Ken's still about, but all you guys, you know who you are. Thanks for listening.
Keep the interest, keep looking up in the skies, and drive safe on the roads, and keep away from C-19. Although there's a lot of suspicion about C-19 now, how serious it really was. And people dying all called C-19 when a lot of them aren't C-19 deaths and all that sort of stuff that's going on in the conspiracy realms now. So
and we had a blind to the eyes joining us tonight. He has always got some useful input. Thank you for listening, blind.
Yeah. Okay, so good night. So here we go.
Okay. See you later.
Hopefully it's going to pop up. And hopefully it doesn't go crazy like last time.
Okay.
Maybe it started pausing and doing crazy stuff.
Gotta get these stupid earplugs out of my ears. They've been itching all night.
Yeah, I can't wait to get these muffs off my ears too.
Oh.
My neck's cracking at the moment. I had to put some cream on earlier. Yep, good night Susan, good night Snipes, but I will be around on Discord.
Yeah. Oh god,
I see a lot of people getting away from Patreon too. A lot of complaints about Patreon. Everybody's saying go to Subscribestar, but I have actually set up a Subscribestar one that people can do a monthly donation of $5 or more. Anyway. The main thing is keep advertising out there, get more people to join our group. That's the key thing here. Good night. I'm going to shut it down now.